What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. As you can see, the new build is loaded up on the bike. We're gonna start heading home. We have a long drive to get home, then we can start getting into this. We're back in the garage. As you can see, the new ZX6R is in here. It's looking good. We're not so good right now, but we're gonna make it look better, obviously. You can see we have a lot of damage on the bike, some hidden damage for sure, but we can't really see because it's really dirty. So I'm going to pull it outside, give it a wash, bring it back in, and we're going to talk about all the damage that's on this motorcycle. Guys, the bike is now back in the garage. We have it all cleaned up. Let's talk about the many damages that I've seen so far, because I'm sure there's always something hidden. So starting from this rear corner, since this is the less damaged side, as you can see, this bike has been down before. It looks like there's some scrapes over here. Nothing crazy. We can paint that. You guys have seen it before. So going forward, as you can see, there's something going on with the shift lever over here. As you can see, that's way too low. I believe this shift rudder was just installed incorrectly, because as you can see, it's contacting on the kickstand over here. The bike was not down on this side, so that's something to figure out. Moving forward, the radiator is completely destroyed. As you can see, it's sitting on an angle, sticking out way more over here and way less on the other side. If we drop down low, that tire is way too close to the header. It should not be that way. I'm hoping it's just a case of bent forks, because I do have a set of forks that I can throw on this bike from a different bike, but I think it's gonna work just right. So that's something that I need to look into. Over on the right hand side, you can see where the radiator took the impact right there. Not looking good at all. The coolant reservoir is completely busted. The front ram air intake with the ducts, all of that, the fairing stayed, the headlight, I did not get any of that with this bike purchase. No fairings, absolutely no fairings came with this bike, so it's very interesting because I've never had to do that at the auction before. Usually there's some parts you can pick up here and there. There was absolutely nothing. Going down over here, as you can see, the timing cover over here is missing one of the plugs. I don't even know how that would happen, and it has a crack over here. Obvious stuff. The rear seats is completely gouged. Same over here. The fairing over here is completely missing. Did not get that again, like I said. This exhaust damage, multiple spots. The shifter on this side, or the brake lever on this side, it's completely destroyed. So we're gonna need to get some new rear sets for sure. But the most concerning thing is that when I picked up this bike, as you can see, there is no oil in the side glass. Right now the bike is completely level. No oil. Even when it's leaning over to this side, the right side, there's still no oil showing in there. So that goes without saying. That is the most concerning part of this purchase so far. No oil. I don't know how long this bike was run without oil. Obviously there's no coolant, but the bike will run for some time without coolant, without causing any damage. So before I'm going to start getting parts in or start diving too deep into this, I need to put some oil in here. Make sure the bike does run and run properly, and then we can get this build on the way. And obviously, as you can see, the gas tank has a deep gouge or dent in here. Same for over here too. You probably can't really see it, but the dent is right over here. Not good. I am gonna try to save this gas tank. I'm not exactly sure how possible that's gonna be, but you guys are gonna find out. Remember when I said there is always hidden damage? Look at this. It doesn't look like there's much damage over here until you come right here. What we have there, boys and girls, is a cracked frame. So obviously right off the bat, that's way more damage than I expected going into this. But we're obviously not going to give up now. If we have a good engine, it's still what to fix for exactly what I have planned for this motorcycle. Right now, I'm going to open up this timing cover. I want to make sure there's no debris, nothing in here before I attempt to start this engine. Let's do that, then we can throw in some brand new fluid and see if this engine works. And this is why it's a good idea to check before you run the engine. As you can see, there's a good chunk of metal over here from this crankcase cover that was cracked. So now I'm gonna take it out. We want to clean out some of this over here, close it back up. We are gonna lose some oil from this area, but that's okay. Throw in some new oil like I mentioned before, and then we can start it up. But before we can do that, we gotta drain the current oil and see what it's looking like. So I'm hoping when I remove this drain plug, we do have some oil come out. So there's some oil, but there's some water in there. That's not horrible just yet. While the oil is draining, I'm thinking I'm gonna go ahead and remove the exhaust headers, just because I want to drop the oil pan and make sure that all the internals, at least there's nothing left in there that could possibly damage this engine if we start it up. It's better to be certain going into something like this. As you can clearly tell from what I'm doing, I'm going to go ahead and remove the radiator since that's busted and has to be replaced. So there's no reason to have it on the motorcycle. That way it's going to give me easier access to remove those headers. I'm going to go ahead and disconnect the wiring harness for the fan for the radiator. It's connected right here. A bit hard to show you guys, but it's right here. That's the one right there. And with that disconnected, we should be ready to pull out this rad assembly. All right, now we have the rad out. As you can see, really busted up. And right now, as you can see, with the radiator out, we have lots of room to remove these headers. It is possible to get this done without removing the rad, but since the rad is going to be replaced, might as well. So I'm going to remove the headers right now, drop that down. Then we can remove the oil pan, inspect it, see what the internals look like. If there's no worries over there, close it up, throw some new oil, and start it up. And just like that, we have the headers out. Alright guys, as you can see right now, we have the oil pan dropped. There are some little bits of material in there. I'm not sure exactly what it is. As you can see, there's still some sign of water in the oil over there. Not terribly bad. So I'm going to completely clean this out, reinstall it, and then we can throw in some new engine oil. And just like that guys, I've completely cleaned out this oil pan. I've cleaned all the mating surface. So I'm going to go ahead and toss it on the bike, completely secure it. And we can throw in some new engine oil. You can see oil filter is out, the oil filter assembly is cleaned up. I'm gonna go ahead and install a new oil filter, some new oil, like I said, and we can start this puppy up. As you all know, I'm always using one of the best in the game, AMS Oil 10W40 full synthetic oil. I always throw this in all my motorcycles. Let's get it going. And just like that guys, we have enough oil in the bike. Obviously it needs to run, circulate, and it's going to drop down a little bit. But now, on to the next problem that is going to give us difficulty in starting this bike. So over here at the top, on the right handlebar, the kill switch or the start stop switch, whatever you want to call it, is completely destroyed. So I'm going to need to open this up, jump the wires in order to start this motorcycle. Now I'm going to remove the kill switch. And right now, as you can see, I have the kill switch open. What I'm pretty much gonna do is loop this, bypass it, and then just use just this to start the motorcycle, if that makes any sense. Let's do that real quick, and then we can see if this actually works. And just like that, we have the kill switch bypassed. We're ready to install the instrument cluster or the speedometer, meter, whatever you want to call it. We're gonna try starting the motorcycle and see how shit sounds. Fingers crossed everything is okay. Let's do it. So interesting enough, when this bike was listed at auction, it said no key, no start. Obviously I know it doesn't start because there was a whole bunch of things, but I did find the key right in here. I just was messing around and the key was in there. So that was a really good find. Super happy about that because I was not really looking into buying a new ignition set for this bike. So the fact that I got the key is a bonus already. Now let's see if this can get even better by this bike starting and sounding good. It does start. It's just the header right now, and that's why it's super loud, but it does start. I'm going to connect the muffler back on just to make sure she sounds good. All right, muffler is now connected. Starting her up. Oh my gosh, she does start. She sounds just perfect. This is super good news, guys. You have no idea. Super good stuff. So the bike does start. The engine sounds really healthy. That's one less thing to worry about. Really, I'm super happy about that. Now I'm gonna go ahead and order a bunch of parts for these things. We can start tearing into it. We can start opening stuff up, replacing stuff, making it even sound better and look better. So far, we're making really good progress. We have the rear tail section completely opened up. Whole bunch of junk parts over here. Some of them are good. Right now, I'm working on removing the gas tank. As you can see, it's gonna need some repair or replacement. I am obviously gonna try to repair this first. That's just where we roll on this channel. So I'm gonna disconnect a few lines, obviously first. Disconnect the breather hoses, remove the tank, open up the airbox, see what that looks like, and move on to some other parts too. And now we have the gas straight chilling over there, whole bunch of parts. Looking really good over here. It looks like no one's been in here. And I really like that. I do not like buying bikes that's been completely messed around with. So far everything looks really good. Doesn't appear anyone's ever been in this area before. So that's good. So I'm gonna go ahead, open the air filter, see if it's still a stock filter that's in there or if it's an aftermarket one. Close it up. We're gonna remove the air box and get into some more parts down below. All right, so up top over here, as you can see, all the wiring harness is completely disconnected. We have the throttle cable, the clutch, everything is all out. I'm ready to drop this engine. So without much more talking, I need to support the engine first. Start removing the bolts or the fasteners that completely holds it to the frame, and then we can drop the engine. But before we can do that, we need to cut the drive chain so we can separate it from the swing arm and all that stuff. And then this drop is one assembly, and then this stays in place. Let's do that. And just like that, I believe we're ready to pull out this engine. I pulled out this big ball over here just for safety measures. I don't want nothing happening to the motor, obviously. I have the floor jack, it's strapped, it's ready to come out. Without much more talking, fingers crossed, everything comes out nice and easy. Let's do it. Yeah, you just saw that. I just picked up this thing like it was nothing. I moved it over. As you can see, the engine is now over here, rolling chassis. This is really good. It's going to help us get the repair done properly. Don't forget, I had them safety boots on doing this stuff. Are you ready to go to bed, Cams?
No.
No? You want to do some more work?
Movie night and then more work.
Yeah? Okay, boys, I'm going to call it a night. It's pretty late right now, so I'm going to catch you guys first thing tomorrow morning. We're going to go get this thing repaired properly. Brand new day, guys. As you can see, we have the bike loaded up on the vehicle. Right now I'm gonna go get it repaired, then we can bring it back, slap it together, and start throwing some new parts on it. And just like that, we're back in the garage, guys, and the ZX6R, it's all fixed up. Joe's been welding for over 25 years. You all know I have a welder right here, but this is not something I'm going to try to mess around with. I'm going to leave it to the professionals, people that have great idea of what they're doing. That's why I let Joe weld it, and it is perfect. So now I'm going to go ahead and clean up the welds, get it prepped for some body work. I'm going to throw some paint in the frame, bring it back. We'll start putting things back together on the bike. Right now, as you can see, this bodywork over here is going pretty good. So what I'm gonna do next while I'm waiting for this to cure, I'm gonna sand this whole main frame, get it prepped and ready for paint. Have I ever said I hate doing body work? Well, I do. But luckily, this is looking good, as you can see, on all corners. So now I'm gonna go ahead and prep it, throw some primer on it, sand it one more time, and then we can paint the entire frame. Okay, as you can see, I'm currently trying to extract a broken engine mount bolt that's in the block. It's taking way too long, it's kicking my ass, but that's usually the way it goes. Sometimes it's really quick, sometimes it takes extra long, and in this case, it's taking way too long. So I'm gonna keep going at it. It is moving, I have rotated it clockwise already, or anti-clockwise, so I feel like it's gonna come soon. Without much more talking, let's get back to it, see if we can get this bolt out today. This got it out, and just like that, it's out. Took a minute, but we did it. All right, guys, another day in the garage, and looking at the motorcycle, I did forget to show you guys the damage. So over on the rear, right here on the swing arm, so it has a dent from the exhaust, obviously from the bike being dropped on the right side. Sure you can see it. Obviously, I'm going to fix that. I'm not going to replace the swing arm just because of that. While editing the videos, I realized I did not film that area of the motorcycle. That's my bad, but now you guys know it. So without much more talking, we're going to get back to work on the 6R. So unfortunately, I could not record most of this because my camera battery died, but pretty much what I did was I set up the heat gun to be pointing directly at the swing arm. With that heat, I went to the inside of the swing arm, I drilled a hole over here, and I was able to kind of force the dents out. So as you can see, it is looking much better, not the greatest. So what I'm going to do right now is go ahead and sand this down to bare metal, do some body work over here, throw some primer, and then we can throw some paint on it. Right now, I'm going to go ahead and use some 100 grit sandpaper and get this down to bare metal so we can prepare to start doing the body work we require.
Am I recording?
Right now I have my body filler mixed up in here. It's Bondo, a very popular brand. I'm gonna put the hardener in, and then we're gonna mix it up, apply it, sand it smooth, and get ready for some primer. With bodywork, it's mostly just repeating the same process over and over until you get your desired finish. So obviously you saw me put the body filler on, you saw me sand it. Right now I have the second coat of body filler. When this cures, I'm gonna sand it again, try to get that nice smooth finish all around before we can throw primer on that area and paint the whole thing. Alright guys, as you can see, the frame is prepped. I've completely cleaned it all up. Right now what I'm going to do is go ahead and tape it all off. All the areas I don't want any paint or primer to be on. Completely tape everything up. Get ready to throw some primer down and some paint. You good boy. Yeah. Alright guys, as you can see, the bike is fully prepped, sanded, taped up. It's ready to receive paint right now. The primer is fully cured. I've sanded it one more time. I saved you guys the stress of watching that all over again. Sanding is really boring. I don't like it myself. But without much more talk, and it's time to throw some paint. So I'm going to go ahead and mix the paint up real quick, toss it in the gun, and we're going to throw it on the chassis of this motorcycle. Paint in the gun, everything is set up. I'm gonna go ahead and open the door. We're gonna start throwing some paint on this area of the frame that's been warmed up, and then we're gonna move on to other parts of the frame, get it all covered in a nice satin black, and then we're gonna be ready to throw the engine back in. that, the first coat of paint is down on the mainframe. As you can see, I'm hitting the other side of the mainframe up right now. So we can throw the paint. We're going to move to the swing arm. Same thing. Come back up here. I want to get at least 2 coats on all sides of the frame of the chassis. So we have good color match and good flow all around. Let's get back to work. Alright guys, so right now we've gotten 2 coats, or at least 1.5 coat plus or minus all over the bike. I'm gonna go ahead and just hit it one more time with a wet on wet full coat. Try to get a nice finish all around, and then she's gonna be done. Alright, and now before the paint fully cures, I'm gonna go ahead and remove all the tape, the masking, all that good stuff. You always want to remove that before the paint fully cures, or you're gonna have a difficult time and possibly horrible tape lines when you take that off. So I'm gonna do that right now, and then we should be good. And just like that, it doesn't look a whole lot better, but it's the simplest things that make a build a build. So I'm happy with the way it turns out. It's a tad bit cleaner. Everyone's happy. But while we have it out here, it's the perfect time to install some new NGK spark plugs on the bike. With the engine in the chassis, it's going to be more difficult, so it only makes sense to throw it in while it's out here right now. And now let's toss it in. Now I'm going to add some dielectric grease to the coil pack, only a little bit, good enough. Alright, we're done with that tedious task. All the old spark plugs are out, the new ones are in here. Let's get this thing mated together once and for all. So right now, obviously the engine is sitting right in the frame, but it's not mounted whatsoever. So I'm gonna go ahead and set you guys on a time lapse because obviously I need to mess around with this, line things up, throw the fasteners in, and then I'm gonna cut you guys back on and we're gonna talk about exactly what I had to do. And just like that, we have this opened up. I do not want to bore you guys because you've seen me open this up before. All the parts are over here. We have the new one up in here. I'm going to unbox this, get it ready to be installed, and toss it on the bike. Unboxing the new one. That looks good. Let's toss it on. There are two gaskets. There's one already in place. I'm going to install the other one. Just like so. Now we're going to line up the new timing cover. Just like that, we have the repaired painted frame and subframe all mounted together to the engine once again. As you can see, it's looking good. I have also gone ahead and torqued all the bolts to specifications, so that is perfect. Now it's time to start installing parts on the ZX6R. The first part that's going to be going on the ZX6R is one of the parts we took off, which is the exhaust headers. I currently have it sitting out here, and obviously, as you can tell, it has seen better days. So my goal right now is to restore this to almost better than OEM. In order to get this done, I just have a bucket of water with some dish soap over here, some steel wool. I picked up this mother's aluminum polish. Never tried it before, but we'll see how it works out. So without much more talking, I'm gonna set you guys on a time lapse and try to get this knocked out. Wish me luck. So as you can see, after I went to work on these headers, it's looking much better than it was. It's not all corroded and rusted and looking poorly like it was before. So I'm very happy with this. I know it's not gonna look brand new, but it's okay to clean it up a little bit. I'm sure I gain 10 horsepower just by doing that. So now we're gonna go ahead and slap it on the motorcycle and start throwing some new parts on this bike. Now I have the exhaust headers cleaned up. It's looking much better than it did before. I also have the gasket cleaned up, and I'm going to reuse this. You never really need to replace this except they fail for some reason. So I cleaned up all the corrosion on them, and I'm going to toss it back in and reinstall these exhaust headers on the 6R. And then we can get to installing some new parts like I mentioned before. Now we're going to fit it in. And now with the headers installed, I'm going to go ahead and torque it to specification. Now with the exhaust headers installed, now it's a good time to go ahead and reroute the kill switch harness and the ignition harness back through there and up in here where it originally came out from. As you can see, we have a whole bunch of parts that's going to go on the ZX6R over there, from sprockets to air filter to brake system to hoses to a whole bunch of stuff. But right now, before we can install all this ignition harness back in here, we have to replace the kill switch that was damaged. If you recall from the previous video, I had to pretty much bypass this to start the bike. So right now, in order to replace this, I'm going to have to repin this connector because the one I received is apparently not the right one. I'm not sure that happened. So I'm going to have to repin all of this, make it work with that connector, and then we can install all of this. And now it's time to start dealing with all of this stuff. So first in here, I'm going to connect either solenoid or the relay, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to connect that and start working my way forward. Right now we're ready to install the brand new radiator on the 6R. Over here, as you can see, I've spliced in the new connector to the old connector harness. I'm not certain if that's going to work because the new connector had way more wires than the old one. So right now we can't really test it out because there's nothing connected, as you can see. But I'm hoping it works out. Fingers crossed that's going to work. Right now I'm going to go ahead and install the rad, start connecting the coolant hoses. As you can see over here, we picked up some brand new ones because the original one had a damage to it. As you can see, it's ripped here in multiple places. So we picked up some red one. Why not? So without much more talking, let's continue working on this beautiful bike. Now we're gonna fit the brand new radiator in. Just like that, we have the brand new radiator fitted on the motorcycle. It's looking good. The next part we're obviously going to throw on this bike is going to be the brand new coolant hoses that we picked up to replace the stock ones. Let's throw that on and then we would be completely done with the cooling assembly for now. All right, now with the hoses loosely fitted, the clamps are not secured yet. My goal is to try to remove this sleeve that's on the OEM hose and put it on that one. I'm not sure exactly how possible this is. Well, the main reason why they have this on is so this doesn't rub on the frame and rub through and have a hole in it. So I'm going to try to see if I can move that over to this one. I'm not certain if it's going to work, but if I can, that would be great. If I can't, then so be it. Then we're going to completely secure all the clamps and move on to the other side and do the same thing. Okay, that took a minute, but we have it out. Now I'm thinking about it, I don't think this is gonna fit on this because this hose is slightly thicker than this one. But we're gonna see if it works since we have it off already. Try to toss it on in here. If it works, good. And just like that, we have the hose fitted on the bike. Looks really good. I was able to move this over from the OEM one to this one. Added peace of mind, and now I know it's not going to rub against the frame. And if it does, it's not going to rub through and create a hole. Perfect. So now we're going to go on to the other side and install the hose because that's where the damage was. And that's why we're replacing all of this. And now we're going to install the hose assembly on the motorcycle. Now down in here is where the cooling pipe connects. Now we can go ahead and secure all the clamps. And now we have all the coolant hoses fitted on the motorcycle. The next thing we're going to be throwing on is the coolant reservoir. It mounts up to the radiator. Let's do it. Have some portions, spaces in here. All right, so as you can see, we've secured everything here. The chain guard, the rear fender, that's on. On the right side, I'm gonna put away this whole bunch of spaghetti over here so we can figure out the rear brake. If you do recall, over here it's broken. I have an idea to fix this and make it pretty much back to OEM or back to factory. But without much more talking, I'm gonna put all of this away, try to clean up this area so we can get some work done here. Now I'm gonna install the rubber bushing. And then this secures rear brake reservoir in here. Over here where this damage occurred from the bike being laid down, the peg on the rear set is completely broken off. What I did is that I picked up a replacement peg instead of just replacing the whole rear set. So something like this or this would go over here. I just need to fix up this area, drill a new hole and secure one of this to this and move on to something else. So to fix this, I'm choosing to go with a slimmer one, but it's quite longer, but just by a 1/4 inch. And over here, as you can see, there's an indentation and this fits perfectly like so. So I'm gonna go ahead and clean up that area, drill a new hole, and we can secure this. And now we make the cut. So just like that, we have the hole drilled and rear peg. And as you can see, it is an exact fit. So that's perfect. I'm gonna go ahead and secure this to the new shifter peg or the brake lever peg, whatever you wanna call it, with some Loctite. When this is done, we can go ahead to addressing this issue. We have some Loctite, apply a generous amount, slide it in through, install the new peg. And just like that, we have that situation figured out. Now, the next thing we're going to work on is the area of the foot peg or the rear set where your foot actually rests on. As you can see, it's completely missing. I have a replacement piece for that, of course. We're going to mount it. Let's get it installed. And just like that, we have that bolt removed. So this is the bolt that we just removed from the rear set. And now the replacement foot peg has a smaller diameter bolt. So as you can see, when we insert it, there is some play over there. So I checked in my pile of hardware and I found this spacer over here. And this fits perfectly in there. But the problem is that the diameter of the inside is a little bit smaller than this one. So I'm going to go ahead and drill that out so it's wider. And then we can use it to replace this. And just like that, we've done that. That's the spacer. And now the bolt fits just perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and install it in here. Like so. And then the bolt goes in. And we're going to add some Loctite again. And torque that down to spec. Torque specification for this foot peg is 15 foot-pounds. So, perfect. One here. And just like that, we've cleaned up things on the right side of this motorcycle. So we're going to go over to the left side and pretty much do the same thing. But over here, before we can install the rear set, I would like to clean all of this up. As you can see, there's a whole bunch of old chain loop. Not very bad, but I would still like to clean all of this out while I have it open, since it's the best way to do it. And then we can install these parts back on the motorcycle. So I'm going to set you guys on a time lapse and get to work. Alright, so to make things a tad bit easier for myself, since I'm obviously going to be replacing the front sprocket, I'm going to go ahead and remove that so I can get this cleaning done easier and better. And now we're going to reconnect the clutch cable. Just like so. I'm going to remove the nuts. And sprocket is out. And now we get to cleaning. And just like that, we have this completely cleaned up and it's looking very, very good, very satisfied with the outcome. Right now, we have the brand new front sprocket. The stock sprocket was a 16 and we're going 15, so we're going down one in the front. Better performance, better acceleration, all that good stuff. Let's stuff it in. Oh, shit. Alright, so with the front sprocket installed, we might as well go ahead and install the rear sprocket and the brand new chain. Let's do that, and then we can torque both of them down to specification. Now, as you can see, we have the old steel sprocket out. I'm going to go ahead and clean off the mating surface because there is some corrosion over there before I install the new aluminum sprocket. I had this on my 6R for just about 100 kilometers and I took it off. So I'm going to toss it on this bike because I know it's pretty much brand new and it still has lots of life in it. It is much lighter than the steel one. Alright, so what you just saw me clean up was some corrosion and some of the thread locker that was used. As you can see, there was plenty of all of that caked on. It would be pointless to put new thread locker and put those nuts in that would not hold. So I cleaned all of that up. Now we can go ahead and install the new sprockets with some nuts and some Loctite. I'm gonna clean this axle and reload it. And now with the axle looped, we're ready to reinstall the tire. And with the front and rear sprockets on the bike, I'm sure you can guess what the next part that's gonna go on this bike is. And that's gonna be a brand new EK Gold chain, 520, obviously. Let's toss that on so we can completely tie this all together. Guys, as you can see, we have the chain loosely fitted. Both sprockets are on. Right now, I'm gonna go ahead and cut the chain, completely secure it, rivet it in place, and then we can torque everything down to spec. Front and rear sprockets fitted and the chain and the sprocket covered. The next thing we're going to throw on the bike is going to be the rear sets on the left hand side. So let's do that, and then we can completely tie everything down in this section. Adding some Loctite. Less than 2% of you guys that are watching actually subscribe. Hit that subscribe button, guys. It does help the channel. Make sure you drop a like and drop a comment. Really appreciate all that. So right now we have got a whole lot of work done, as you can obviously tell. See, the paint job turned out excellent. There's absolutely no complaints over there. The engine is seated. Everything is torqued down to specification. That is perfect. The goal for today right now is to figure out all of this. We have a whole bunch of wires. Some of them are cut, just like this one. A whole bunch of them are cut. Everything needs to be routed properly and secured and all that good stuff. That is the goal for today. So without much more talking, we need to get to work on this ZX6R and make it look good. The first thing we're going to install right now is going to be this throttle assembly that goes over this way and all the way to the front. So we have that set aside and start figuring this out. Now I'm connecting the fuel injectors. Down in here, there's another connector that needs to be plugged in. And next, this connector is over here. And now we're gonna plug in the harness for the coil packs. And just like that, this is now looking like an engine. We have lots of the connectors all secured, all plugged in. Really good progress, guys. Now the next thing we're gonna do is reroute the horn assembly. As you can see, it's still sticking out over here. It should go right in here and mount to the radiator. So that's what we're gonna do right now. The horn assembly needs to go through here. Now we're gonna plug in the ignition harness and the left handlebar switch harness. Now the harness for the radiator fan. Right now, as you can see, the ZX6R is looking really good. My goal right now is to figure out the alignment of the front end. As you can see, like I pointed out before, that tire is way too close to the header. So what I discovered is that if you come close in here, you can obviously see from the mark that this was dropped. I'm not sure if this is how the previous owner had it or if it's due to the accident. I don't know. But even over here, there's a few, it's dropped quite a little bit. My goal is to unfasten all of the fasteners, see if it's going to work its way back into specification. If it doesn't, then I'll go ahead and throw on the replacement forks that I have for this bike from a different bike, but I know it's going to work. The reason why I've removed the bike from the lift is because I feel like with the bike in the lift and the front chuck over there, most of the weight is being pushed forward. So I want it to be kind of level, so when I remove this, it can settle in properly, if that makes any sense. This is the current setup right now. The engine noise is out here to pick up the front end. But before we do that, I'm going to go ahead and measure exactly how much space is over there with a caliper. Write it down. Adjust this to specification up there. Measure again and see if we have any movement and how much it is. Alright, so what I did over here is I put two tapes, one on the tire and one on the exhaust headers. And I placed the digital caliper right on top of the tape that's on the exhaust headers, and I measured it and it came out to 13.4 millimeters. So I'm gonna go ahead and loosen this, like I said, try to put it back to specification and see how much movement, if any, would happen. I do understand that this might not be the most accurate of measurements, but you have to work with what's available to you. That's precisely what I'm doing. And now with the wheel off the ground, let's get to cranking on this bolt and removing some stuff. When I unfastened all the bolts, the front forks dropped down. Now I'm gonna go ahead and just drop this thing a little bit lower, the engine hoist, get it to exactly where I want it to be, and torque it down to spec again. Okay guys, that did not work out as planned. So after doing all that, as you can see, it's back to where it should be. All that is all secured, tightened. Yeah, still not enough space between the tires and the headers. So I'm gonna go ahead and install the new forks that I have for this bike. Like I said, it's from a different bike, but I'm certain it's gonna work because I also have the front wheels and everything to throw it together. Let's do that and hope that that makes a difference. And I have both brake calipers out of the way and secured. Let's break all of this loose and pull out this fork assembly with the wheels. Alright guys, as you can see, we have this front wheel assembly with the forks out right now. We have the replacement wheel. In the previous video, I left off working on the front end of this vehicle, trying to get it all aligned. A lot has happened since that video. And as you can see, I currently have the forks and a set of wheels reinstalled on the motorcycle. Now, I'm gonna get you guys up to speed. In today's video, we're jumping right back into the ZX6R where we left up. That was, of course, figuring out the alignment of the front end. And as you can see, I have the original forks that came out of the ZX6R on the table over here. And real quickly, I'm going to show you exactly what I found. The forks on the table, and when I roll it over slowly, you can see that it's 100% level. There is no dips, there is no nothing. Just like so. Which tells me that these are good. And if you look over here, this is the second set of forks. It's the exact same thing. The reason why I decided to take a second look at those forks is because a subscriber reached out to me and gave me a detailed explanation of the situation he had working on his bike. And then I decided to take a look at the ones I have, and it turns out to be the same thing. And as you can see, I have the dial indicator set up. I have the forks on D blocks. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna zero this out real quick. We're gonna spin it and see if there's any run out. Now, as you can see, it's zeroed out. I'm gonna start slowly spinning. Now, so far, we're very good. As per the manufacturer's recommendation, I'm going to put up a screenshot over here. The runout should be at least under 8 thousandths. The 8 was really good right now, so these forks are good. I'm going to repeat this process all around on the forks on multiple spots just to confirm this. Alright guys, so basically what I've done is that I've set up a level table, even though it doesn't really matter using one of this. Then I set the forks on these D blocks over here, and I set the dial gauge or the dial indicator to the middle point, and I zeroed it out, spun it over multiple times in different sections of the forks, and these forks are good. The run is within the specification, which is up to 8 thousandths. So now we're gonna toss it back into the bike, align everything up properly, and we should be ready to move on with this motorcycle. Alright guys, just like I mentioned, these forks are 100% okay, and to present to you Exhibit A, as you can see, these are the replacement forks with the wheels. We know these are good because we picked this up to test on the ZX-10R. We know they're mint, and as you can see, the gap is the same. So after a lot of research, I guess I was originally looking at this just by comparing to my previous ZX6R, which is a 636. So what I came to find out is that Kawasaki changed out the header style from 2013 Plus, which is the 636, which is what I had on my 2020. And with this being the 599, it has a different header style compared to that one. This is the only reasonable explanation I can come up with to why the header is sticking out much further out than it usually should be. I've also gone online and looked at a whole bunch of other ZX6R from the same model year, and they all seem to have the same amount of clearance. So I guess it's just the way these were made. So without much more talking, I'm going to go ahead and remove the front fork assembly and the wheels, put that away, and reinstall the original ones. And now we're gonna reinstall the original forks. And the same thing on this side. And just like that, we have the bike back on the lift. The whole front end is torqued down to specification. The axle bolts, the front clamps, the forks clamps, all of that is all secured back to spec. The next thing we're gonna do is perform a brake caliper service. The brake pads on this bike are good. It appears they've been recently replaced, so we do not need to replace those right now. But we're gonna go ahead and service the calipers because there is some debris built up in there. It only makes sense to do it right now while it's out before we toss it back in. So we're gonna jump right on that and get this done. So while we're cleaning out the brake system, I'd like to get you guys' opinion about the channel. What do you guys think about us having a nice merch drop out for the channel? Drop your comments down below. I've been thinking about it, and a new subscriber actually made a comment on one of my old posts asking if I had any merch, and obviously I don't right now. I would like to do something like that if that's what you all are interested in. So let me know in the comments, would you like us to have some merch? Are you gonna purchase it if it's out there? To support the channel, keep getting more builds like this. I'd like to know what you guys think. So I'm not gonna bore you guys by watching me do this. I'm gonna set this to a time lapse, knock out the fronts, and then I'm gonna cut you guys back in. As you saw, I've cleaned out the inside of this brake caliper. The pistons are looking much better than they did before. So what I'm gonna do right now is go ahead and reinstall the components. So that is the brake pads itself, the slider pin and the guide, all that good stuff. And then we can move on to the other side and pretty much repeat the exact same thing. I'm gonna install the guide. And now we're gonna install the pin. And now it's time to reinstall the caliper. On the left side, we're gonna do exactly pretty much the same thing. We're gonna remove the bolt that holds it, remove the guides, the brake pads, clean it all out, and then reinstall it back where it belongs. And as you can see, that does not look good at all. Lots of debris. There's some corrosion on the piston too. Let's fix that. Alright guys, and just like that, we've cleaned out the caliper, all the guides, the pin, even the brake pads are all clean. They're ready to be reassembled on the bike. So let's get that done. Alright, as you can obviously see, I'm sure you can guess the next part that's going to go on the ZX6R, which is going to be the engine covers. So, without much more talking, let's go toss this bad boys on this beautiful bike. I have a couple things I'm hoping to get done today. Let's get to it. So unfortunately, I did some work on the ZX6R without you guys. If you do remember from the previous video, the kill switch was completely destroyed from the accidents. And when I figured out the wiring first, I did not get it right. But now it's all done. As you can see, kill switch on. Yeah. So I have that figured out. It is working the way it should be. So that's really good progress. Right now, I'm going to jump onto installing back the airbox and everything in that area. Try to secure it so we can toss the gas tank on and start getting some work done on that. Now we're going to reinstall the clip-on. This should be torqued to 58 foot-pounds. Now, I was about to put this wiring harness away when I found an open circuit over here. So I'm going to open this up, perform the repair that needs to be done so we don't have problems in the future. That is secured. Now I'm gonna go ahead and reroute all the wiring harness that's supposed to go to the front for the headlight, blinkers, the instrument cluster, all that good stuff, and then we can install the airbox in place. Like that's looking much better. All the wires are ready to go where they belong when we have the assembly, when we have those parts in. Now we have the airbox. Obviously it's looking quite filthy. I'm gonna go ahead and clean this up before we toss it in the bike. connect the hose and install the airbox. That's good. Now we'll make sure that the airbox is sitting properly on the throttle body. Now we'll secure it in place. Same on this side. And now the top bolt. And as you can see, the lower part of the airbox is fully installed on the motorcycle. We have our original filter that came off the bike. No good. The next part we're going to be turning on this bike is going to be the race air filter. This is really good stuff. It's reusable. You just have to wash it, clean it up, toss it back in. And this is a race air filter, so it's not a street one. If you're going to toss this on, you do need to tune that motorcycle. So let's toss this beauty on and make this thing one of a kind. And that's it here. It's already pre-oiled. Up on the gas. Brand new. Look at that. Let's go. Right to toss this back on. And with everything secured up top here, it's time to plug in the harness for the mass airflow sensor and the electrics on top. Alright guys, just like that. Right now, as you can see, we have the top of the airbox fitted back on. My goal right now is to install the gas tank right back on the motorcycle so I can start doing some repairs to that gas tank. For this video, I'm just going to make it a time lapse just because I'm going to make a separate video detailing exactly how I intend to do the repair for a gas tank that's dented this way. I figure it's the best way to get more people to find that video, so that's what I'm going to do. If you guys are interested in watching a detailed video of how I intend to repair the gas tank, you guys can check out our video. So before you attempt to do something like this, you want to make sure that the gas tank has no gas in it. It's aired out, it's bone dry. Throw some water in there for extra precaution because you do not want this thing blowing up on you. Very bad stuff. And right now we have the gas tank over here. We want it to be on a secure surface. So what I'm going to do is install it back on the motorcycle so it's secure. Strap the motorcycle to the lift, or you have it on your jack stand or whatever you have, and then get to work on it. First, I'm going to protect the surface. All of this is clean because we're going to do some sanding, some grinding. We don't want anything getting in there. So some rags would be great. And the 2 bolt that goes up top here. And now as you can see, the gas tank is fitted. It is secured to the motorcycle. What I'm going to do right now is go ahead and strap it to the lift. If you don't have a lift, that's okay. But I have one, so I'm going to make use of it. It only makes sense to do that. And then we can get some work on the way. So far, all the techniques or everything I'm trying to do to get this dent out of this tank is not really working the way I want it to do. But right now I have one final idea to get this working. I have this plate over here and I'm going to show you guys exactly what I have planned. So right now I've cut this from the piece of metal that I showed you guys. Now this is going to be the top plate and this is going to be the bottom one. So what I'm going to do is drill a hole right through both of them. Try to get it centered as possible for this bolt to thread in here. Now what this is a tire valve. So this is what you have in your tires. And when you inflate it, you get air in your tires. So with this, I'm going to drill another hole just to the side over here where this is going to be inserted and secured. Let's do that real quick and then I'm going to cut you guys back in and show you exactly what my plans are. Alright guys, now as you can see, I have both holes drilled and it goes right through. The reason why I went bit by bit is because I was trying to make this as secure as possible, and now that's perfect. So now with the hose drilled on the plate, the next piece of the puzzle is going to be this old hose. I have this from when I replaced the intercooler on my vehicle, so this has just been sitting. Right now we're going to cut it up to match this exact same size, and the idea is that when we put it in here, we can seal this and create pressure on the inside of the tank. So this might make some of you all laugh, but as you can see, the smaller plate has a nut behind it, and I have this electric tape securing this way. Now I'm going to go ahead and fit it in here, hold it in place so I can thread in this bolt and secure it. Alright, now just as you can see, this is fully secured. It's not going anywhere. I'm going to go ahead and flip the tank over, reinstall the fuel pump so that is sealed, and we're going to pressurize this tank. Let's try it out. No leaks. Doesn't sound like there's any leaks. Oh yeah, that worked. Did you guys see that? That is awesome. Oh my gosh, I wasn't sure if this is gonna work, but as you can see, that just popped right out.
A few moments later.
Alright guys, it's another day in the garage, and I gotta tell you, that tank is kicking my butt. After that successful pop, I've been having difficulties getting the other dents out. It is what it is. I am not gonna give up. You know how when you get it into something and you're determined to get it done? That's me and that tank. We're gonna battle all the way until it's nice and beautiful OEM, no damage, no dent on it. I'm not exactly sure how I'm gonna get there, but I know I'm gonna get there one way or another. That said, we have the 6R over here. We still have some parts to throw on the bike. I'm still waiting for a couple more parts. But right now, we're gonna go ahead and test what I have on the bike and get it closer to looking beautiful as I know it can be. A company sent me out this part. It's supposed to be a throttle tube. I'm going to get into that a little bit later. We have some domino grips, some bar and weight. We have a very, very interesting package in this box. It was a pain finding this one. And we have the Brembo RCX19 brake and clutch system. So without much more talking, let's start tossing these parts on the motorcycle. So this part, like I said, it is a throttle tube. It's a standard universal 7/8 or 22 millimeters. And basically it has these plates that will slide on over here, and you can adjust how much throttle play you have on your bike and how much turn it takes to go from the idle or the sitting position to full throttle lock. It doesn't make much sense right now I'm talking about it. When I toss it on the bike, you will understand what I mean. So this is the way this is. As you can see, it slides in like this, kind of like a sprocket tooth, and then it locks in place, and then you can adjust how much throttle play. So there are different sizes for different application. So now I'm gonna open up this throttle assembly. Now, like I mentioned, there are 3 different sizes, and the best fit for this one would be this particular size. So slide it on like so. It locks in place, and then we can install it on the motorcycle. Alright guys, and just like that, as you can see, this is fully installed now. And the idea is that this is slightly bigger than the stock one, and it's going to remove that free place. So when you twist the throttle and you have that like dead spot before you actually engage it, it's going to remove that. And right now it's fully installed. Like I said, this is still in testing, so we are going to try it out whenever we get this bike ready. We're going to try it out and see how well this works. Now we're going to reinstall this throttle tube. All right, we have the new throttle tube on, and as you can see, that is looking really, really good. I am going to need to readjust this a little bit. As you can see, it's sticking its way in on the handlebar. I'm going to bring it all out and install it properly. And now we're going to pop this grip off. Just like so. Install the new one. That's a little bit loose, actually. Yeah, so these domino grips are ordered and not really sitting well on the bike. So I'm going to go ahead and run these for now. until I can get a replacement that I actually like and sits properly on the bike. In the meantime, we're gonna throw on the bar and grips. Let's get that done. And just like that, I have the handlebars on. It's almost embarrassing how long it took me to get this on. They were almost impossible to get. The rubber sleeves that were sent that go in here would not go in. That was a lot of finesse and a lot of work to get this inside the handlebar to be able to secure it in place. Very, very bad design, but both of them are on, luckily. And they're very solid, happy about that. Always frustrating when things don't go according to plan. You waste so much time trying to figure something out that should just take 5 minutes. But that's the way it goes sometimes. Sometimes it just doesn't happen the way you want it to. You just gotta keep doing what you're doing. So with that all taken care on the bike, the next part we're gonna be touching on is gonna be this brake kit assembly. I've been holding out on this because I've been waiting for the brake lines to come in, but that's taking a sweet ass time to come in. I still haven't received it, but I'm gonna go ahead and install this. And then whenever the brake lines come in, we're just gonna plug that all in and secure it in place. Alrighty. This is the clutch side, I believe. The brake side. All the hardwares. Alrighty, so it appears I received the wrong kit. This kit does have the regular clutch, a cable clutch, and has a hydraulic clutch. It appears I received the kit with the hydraulic clutch because, as you can see, that's the hydraulic brake reservoir or the hydraulic fluid reservoir, and I have no brake fluid reservoir. So I have reached out to the company I purchased the kit from. They are aware of this. They are going to send me a brake fluid reservoir, and when I receive it, we can toss it on the motorcycle. Now we're going to remove this. Pull this out just like so. That's out. Now we can toss in the replacement unit. Now we're going to reinstall the clutch cable. Alright, and we have the clutch side installed. Really like this. It's so smooth. It's awesome. I am going to change this to the stock one. I just really don't fancy the gold up here because there's nothing for it to match with. So I'm going to toss that out and reinstall the stock one. But over here, I still need to figure out the wiring for the clutch. It's missing the module like on the stock one over here. That's completely missing on this one. So I'm going to need to figure out if I can install that over there or if there's something else I need to purchase to make this work on the 6R. Yeah, so I took that off and it's not the same size. This is smaller, that's bigger. That's not gonna work. So I guess I'm just gonna run with this one. I accidentally recorded that in time lapse. But what I pretty much did was pop off these two bolts over here that secures the brake master cylinder. That's it. Now I'm gonna go ahead and disconnect this brake line and we can remove this assembly. And now to install the master cylinder, it's pretty much the same as the clutch side. So right now with both the Brembos fitted on the bike, we're working with this brake switch right now. I'm trying to get it figured out. This is the cable that comes with the Brembo. So my goal right now is to fit it in here. So when we press on the brake lever, the brake light works in the back. So to do that, I'm going to be using this piece over here. I'm going to file it down so it can go right in this slot because that way, that's the best way to get it done. Right now, it's currently too big, just like so. So this is the regular size and these two are filed down. If we take it to the bike and insert it, it does work just like a champ, like so. And now we're going to plug this in loosely, just to test it out. Bike is on. That's awesome. Brake light is working. All right, guys, so just like I mentioned, as you can see, I have this wires completely secured in these terminals. It's a heat shrink wrap, so it's protected from the elements. I'm gonna go ahead and plug it in here, and we have the brake side completely set up now. Just like so. All right, and now we're gonna test that out. Ignition is on, the running lights is on, brake works just perfect. Same for back here. Excellent. All right, so just like I mentioned, I have a really special package in this box. It took me a minute to find it, and that's the front ram air intake. Now this is a very unique one because, yeah, most of you guys probably don't know, but the bike is a 2010 ZX6R. This isn't. So this ram air intake is definitely not from the 2010 ZX6R. It is from a different model year. But like I said, this is going to be an interesting build. So drop your guesses. Let me know what model year you think this ram air intake is from. Let's toss it on the bike. I'm going to apply some heat to this adhesive backing. Peel it off. Alright, so with that adhesive backing now installed on the ram air intake, we're gonna go ahead and toss it on the motorcycle, and then we can check out the fitment. We have the ram air intake. Now let's secure it in place. We have electrical issues I'm trying to figure out. So as you can see right now, we have this all opened up. I've been trying to figure out some electrical problems I've been having. Ignition is on. We can see that the tail light is on. It's working the way it should. But the problem is that when we turn on the blinker, it just stays solid. Doesn't blink. Same thing for the other side. Just stays solid. And same for the front one over here. So obviously I've checked the service manual. I've checked all the wiring. Everything appears to be the way it should. But there's no reason why this should be happening. Solid light when it should be flashing, obviously. Alright guys, it is another day in the garage. We're still working on the 6R. Currently, I'm still trying to figure out why the right blinker is not gonna work. As you can see, I have it set up over here. This is the blinker from the right side. It's on the left side now. I have all the wires connected. I have tested out multiple relays. This is a new one. This is another new one. Still not working. I have spent a good bit of time trying to figure this out. No resolution whatsoever. So for right now, I'm just gonna take a step back, work on something else, and then maybe come back to this at a later time, just so I don't get myself all worked up about it. Alright guys, so in the previous video, we fitted on this ram air intake, and I asked you guys to drop your best guesses what year you thought this was from. Only one person got it right so far, and that person is correct. I'm gonna have a screenshot of that person over here. This ram air intake is from the 2019 Plus model to 2023, and that's what's going on this bike. So right now I have reset the brake lines. Like I mentioned, I'm going to show it to you guys. I did get ahead of myself installing the ram air intake, so I need to remove the bolt that secures the brake lines over here. I'm going to pop that off, and then we can start installing those new brake lines. First, I'm going to remove the ram air intake. Now we have access to this bolt. And that's out. Well, that was easy. So now, as you can see, no brake lines on the motorcycle. We have all our brand new brake lines over here. 2 for the front, 1 for the rear. Let's start throwing this on the motorcycle. So right now I have the brake hoses loosely fitted. And over here is a new double banjo brake bolt. I'm going to go ahead and set you guys on a time lapse and completely secure this, because I know for sure it's going to need some finessing. Alright guys, as you can see right now, I have had these brake lines installed on the motorcycle. Now these are custom brake lines, and I did my best measurement to figure out exactly what sizes I need. But as you can see, the left side is a little bit longer than I would like it to be. But it's okay, it's completely secured. As you can see, it's bolted to the caliper over there. And same thing over here. They're both going to a single banjo bolt that goes into the brake master cylinder over there. I'm probably going to change up the brackets that's holding it. Start from a plastic to a metal one, just so it's more secure. But on that note, I think I'm completely happy with that. Obviously, sometimes things never look the way they look in the picture when you receive them. When I ordered these brake lines, I was hoping the red would match this red over here. But as you can see, it doesn't. But no fuss, we're going to run it that way. My main concern when installing the brake lines was that the fender would clear. And as you can see, there's lots of room. The fender is going to clear on both sides perfectly well. So in the last video, when I installed the front master cylinder, all this good stuff over here, I had set up the wiring for the brake switch and I installed that, secured it in place. But a subscriber reached out and made a comment on the way I made that install, and the concerns were that, it's open to the element and it's probably going to short out when water contacts it. So this is what I'm going to show you guys. So this is the original master cylinder that was removed from the bike. And over here, as you can see, that's the brake switch and that's the connectors that it connects to. And what I've pretty much done is just remove that. That's the connector over there, and made a similar thing for it to connect to over here. Now this is completely heat shrink wrapped, it's completely protected from the elements. And this side is still factory, the same way it's always been. Even on the back, the terminals are exposed, but that's the way it's always been. The only thing that's changed is this going over here. Now I'm no expert, but personally, I don't think that's going to short, because like I said, I didn't really change much. The connector going to it is still the same, not a whole lot of change. But to make you all happy, I'm going to go ahead and protect this one more time by throwing a whole bunch of tape around the whole assembly and protecting it from the elements. Let's do that, and then we can go ahead and install the front brake reservoir. Alright, now as you can see, that whole assembly is taped up, it's secured. Nothing's gonna get to it. I just want to take a moment and say I do appreciate every one of you who drops a comment down below. Let me know what you think about the build and what I'm doing. 2 heads are better than 1. If I'm not doing something right, I appreciate you just pointing that out. I don't mind going back and fixing it, hey? Now, obviously, this does not apply to all comments, because some of them are just, I don't know. But to those meaningful ones, appreciate you all. My OCDs are getting to me. I thought I was gonna be okay with this, but I'm not. So this longer hose just does not look great to me whatsoever. So what I plan to do is install the brake hose I picked up for the rear on the right side. I have measured it and it will work. And the one that I currently have for the right side will move over to the left side. So I'm just going to remove this longer piece and hang on to it for future projects. And then whenever I get the rear side, because I ordered a new one in, we can install that one. I'm going to go ahead and remove the bolt for the master cylinder. And this middle one. And now we reinstall it back on the motorcycle. Alright guys, just like that, as you can see, everything is looking much better. I routed it, secured the lines with some zip ties over there, and it goes down there. I think I like this much better. The fender is gonna go in here. That's all okay. So now we're gonna move on and start installing the brake reservoir up top here, plumbing the line for that one, and making this a functional brake system. Now we have a longer bolt to replace this one. Alright guys, and just like that, we've completed the install. We have the brake lines all in place. We have the brake reservoir. We have all that figured out. Now the next thing we're going to do is go ahead and throw some brand new brake fluid in there, bleed both calipers and the master cylinder, and see how this thing feels like. And now adding some brake fluid. And as you can see, I filled that up to the rim. Let's start bleeding this brake system. Alright guys, right now we've done a whole lot of stuff. Lots of big progress so far. Like I said before, the front brake lines are all plumbed, they're all secured, they're holding. As you can see, there's now brake fluid in there and it's bled really solid. Love this brake system. I can't wait to actually ride this bike. Something I did on this motorcycle is I installed the domino grips. If you remember in the previous video, I had difficulty installing this, and a buddy of mine reached out to me, actually called me right after he watched the video, and he told me what it is with the dominoes. So this are particular to each side. So this side will not work on that side and vice versa, which is not very common because on every other thing I've installed, I've never had that problem before. So after he called me and told me, I came back home, I tried it out, and as you can see, they're on, they're secured. So you live and learn. You learn something every day, and even from your buddies. Big shout out to Agile. Appreciate that info, buddy. Now, the next thing we're going to be throwing on this bike is going to be the exhaust I've picked up for it. I love this exhaust. I have a similar one on my 10R, and it was a no-brainer. I was going to go with this for the 6R. Alright guys, so with everything going good so far, I figured I would give you guys an update on this situation that I was having with the turn signals. So right now, as you can see, the bike is on. That light is working. I'm going to turn on the left signal. And as you can see, boys and girls, now she works. Both of them, perfect. But I gotta tell you, that was a difficult one. So all new fuses, the fuses were okay. Installed multiple relays just to confirm that was okay. And the cause of all this worries was a open circuit on the wiring harness. So as you can see, I cut this wiring harness back and I had found that it was ripped open, maybe due to the accident. I'm guessing obviously it's due to the accident. Repaired the wire and now we have power. But this was a pain because I never expected that to be the cause of this problem. But after doing all the basic diagnosis you would do for something like this, you just had to be the wiring, and which ended up being. So I'm lucky I have that figured out. Working like I said, and same for over there, it's working. And if we go over to the right side, as you can see, that's working, that's working. So if we're keeping scores, that's bike 1, bike 0. I'm winning. Now, the next part we're going to be turning on the ZX6R is the exhaust I ordered for this bike. It's been sitting for a while, so obviously I had to open it just to make sure there was no damage. And that's just the way this bike goes, or this rebuild goes. Sometimes I get parts well in advance, and I need to open these packages to make sure that there is no damage to it, so I do not miss that return window. But this one is good. There's no damage to it. Let's show it to you guys. And that looks very beautiful. I can't wait to touch this bike, have this bike running, and hear what she sounds like. I know it sounds excellent on the 10R, but what would it sound like on the 6R? Now, in order to install the exhaust, I'm going to remove this rear set. Right now, we have the Austin Racing exhaust fitted on. The problem I'm running into is that this is obviously the Vortex rear set. It's an aftermarket unit, not the OEM one. And when I try to fit this on, it is contacting over here on the exhaust. So what I'm going to do right now is set you guys in a time lapse. The Vortex rear set is adjustable, so that is good. I'm going to try to figure this out, figure out the best way to mount this and secure it in place. Then I'm going to cut you guys back in and show you what I've come up with. Alright guys, as you can see, now the exhaust is loosely fitted on the bike. What I'm going to do right now is go ahead and shave this bracket down a little bit. Because right now, when this is loosely installed, this piece over here from the brake sensor or from the rear brake master cylinder is contacting over here. As you can see, that's the rub max. So I'm going to go ahead and just file this down a little bit. And we should be good to completely set this up once and for all. Alright guys, right now that is perfect, that is clear and everything. There's no contact with any of the brackets. Really like that. Alright guys, as you can see, it is a really tight fit, but the brake clears, that does not touch the exhaust at all. I'm happy with that. And right now we have a good bit of parts on the motorcycle. The exhaust that we just touched on really ties it together. I can't wait to hear what it sounds like. On that note, I have another part to draw on this bike. It's a part that was given to me by my very good buddy, Donatello. So without much more talking, let's toss that on. The next bit of part that's going to go on is this EvoTech rear passenger delete. Because obviously, I have no intentions of running the rear passenger peg on this bike. So we're going to be throwing this on it. And we have those parts on. It's just the little things that make a build a build. Really like those. Went on nice and easy. And just like that, we have the next part over here to be opened up. This was a very difficult part to find, but we did find it. And it is going to completely transform this build 100%. Our next part is, it's the 2020 Kawasaki ZX6R front headlight. This is LEDs. Obviously, it's very, very different from what this bike originally came with. So it's interesting, or it's going to be interesting to see how we're going to get this working on the bike. Without much more talking, let's loosely fit it on and start playing with some wires. So we're going to need to do that. Right now, we're going to loosely fit this headlight assembly to the motorcycle so it doesn't get damaged. Goal today is to figure out the headlight. Obviously, like I mentioned in the previous video, this headlight is from the 2020 Plus model. These are LEDs. The original headlight on this bike have regular halogens. This is an LED assembly. It's not as simple as swapping out the LED bulbs or the halogen bulbs on your motorcycle to LEDs. This is way more complicated than that. So my goal today is to achieve this working on this particular model. So without much more talking, we're gonna do some testing. I'm currently trying to figure out the wiring for this bike. I have different wiring schematics pulled out. Let's just jump right into it. Currently, I've been playing around with this motorcycle, trying to figure out the wiring and the headlights, starting the bike multiple times, obviously just cranking, not starting. So now the battery's almost dead on me. I picked up a new battery charger or maintenance. Let's toss on the bike and get back to working on the headlight assembly. On this part we install on the motorcycle, this goes to the battery terminals. Red for red, black for black, that's pretty straightforward. And just like that, we have that tender installed. So one negative terminal over here, positive. And then I have the wiring harness going over here, out and just sticking out over here. Might probably throw a zip tie, but I think it's just okay where it is. And then we can hook it up to a battery charger, and this battery is going to stay topped off all the time. So guys, I figured I'll give you guys an update. We have made very good progress on the motorcycle right now. As you can see, we have the high beams working. It is just excellent. You guys needed to see my victory dance when I actually figured this out, because I spent a good bit of time trying to figure this out. But the high beams are working. I'm still having difficulty figuring out the low beams. But as you can see over here, the dash is up top, high beams over there, off, on. Excellent. Really happy about that. But now I need to figure out the low beams, because that's what actually matters. I'm gonna go back to this, see if I can figure out anything tonight. If I can't, I really don't know what to do, because I'm really hoping that I can figure out those low beams. Wish me luck, guys. All right, so guys, basically what I've done right now to figure this out is that I have tested all the wiring, and this wire over here I know is for the high beams, and I've marked it out. So basically the black is the negative. So I'm gonna put this to the negative and this to the positive. As you can see, the readings on the multimeter, it's almost zeroed out. As soon as I turn on the high beams, it goes up to 13 volts. So there is power currently going through this, and then the high beams are on. But now the same thing is not working for the low beams, because I have found the low beam cable over here.
A few moments later.
Alright guys, so just looking at the bike and everything I've done so far, I know this week's video is going to be kind of all over the place, because I'm working on the headlight, trying to figure out the wiring and everything. I'm also working on the gas tank. I'm also doing so many other things behind the scenes that probably won't make it to this video. That's just the way it goes. But hopefully it's going to be a good video. That's the goal, always. So right now, let's go ahead and figure out this headlights. Like I said, I figured out the high beam and the running light. The low beam is still a no-go. I've spent a good bit of time on this. It's almost getting frustrating at this point, actually, if you ask me. But I'm still hopeful that I can figure that out. If I can't, I'm just going to roll with it, and that's it. I gotta tell you guys, we finally figured it out. It took a minute, much longer than a minute. It took almost a week, plus or minus, not every day, but day in, day out, hopping on this every chance I get, trying to figure out this headlight. We finally got it, boys and girls. I'm super excited, you have no idea. So now, as you can see, the bike is on, there's no lights on. We have the running lights on now. And then when we go over here, attempt to start the bike, turn on the high beams. And as you can see on the toolbox over there, those high beams are coming on. This is really good progress, guys. The upper and the lower running lights are on. High beam works. I am just super happy that I was able to figure this out. It took a minute. So much time was put into this, figuring out the wiring. This was a pain. I gotta tell you, it was a pain. But we have it done. Let's tie this up completely. I know it looks like a mess, and it is a mess, but let's completely secure everything, make it all nice and pretty, and hardwire it to the headlights. Let's get to work. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to give you guys an update on what I've done so far on the 6R. We have everything cleaned up here a little bit. So this is what I've done so far. The headlights now work. Everything is fully functional. I'm super excited. I have everything here on butt connectors, and it's all heat ring, shrink wrapped, protected from the elements. Over here, I did make a note of exactly how I was able to figure out this connection. I stuck it on here just in case for some reason if this bike ever leaves my hand, the next owner would know exactly what wire goes where and what it's for. Or say I sell it to something, or I have issues in the future, I have that to help me diagnose exactly what I've done here. I just thought it was pretty handy to have that there. It's there, I'm happy. It's kind of away, it's tucked away. You can't see it when all the fairings are on there. That's good by me. Now I have this headlight set up perfectly. As soon as you turn on the ignition, you have the low beam that's on right there. And the low beam is over here, okay? And then when you try to start it, obviously that's good. Then you have the running light that comes on over here, and then you have high beam over there. Fully functional. You guys do not want to know how long it took me to figure this out. I am beyond excited I was able to do it, because if I spent all this time on it and I was not able to figure it out, I would have been upset. I'm not even going to lie about that. But super happy that it's good. It's on. It just looks brilliant. It just looks brilliant. So now, let's move on to something else. And now that we have the headlight figured out, if you do remember in the previous video, I mentioned I was going to pick up some metal clamps to replace the plastic one that was over there. I did pick it up. Let's remove this assembly and swap those out. And now we have the clamp kit. Now with the clamp kit installed, we're going to thread the bolts back in. Yeah, with this metal once installed, I really like it much better than the plastic one that were on there before. Top notch. So now we're gonna go ahead and install ram air back in place and secure it. All right, so that's all good now. At this point, we'll be installing the fairing tape. I currently do not have that just yet. I'm still waiting for that piece. It's unfortunate, but that's the way it goes. Now, over on the right side of the motorcycle, we're going to figure out the cooling situation. Now, first, this clamp is missing. I'm going to replace it with a brand new clamp. The hoses were damaged from the accident. I picked up some brand new hoses. We're going to route it, cut it to size, and clamp them on. We have a new clamp over here. Slide it on. Insert the hose. That clamp is secured. And now we have the new hose. We got the clamp on the new hose. Slide it on. Now we'll secure the clamp. We're gonna measure it like so. Goes right in there. With a new clamp. Perfect. Now we're gonna plumb the coolant overflow line, which is this one over here. Like so. Right through here and out to the side of the motorcycle. And now with everything plumbed up over here, the next part we're going to be throwing on this bike is going to be the radiator cover. Obviously, I like to throw this on the bike because it's just cheap insurance. You don't want to blow out your radiator, or you don't want to have a hole in your radiator and have to replace that. Get a rad cover, it's nice and cheap, and it's going to save you a lot of money. Now before I install this, I'm going to go ahead and heat the sides up so I can install this adhesive backing that prevents this rad cover from rubbing on the radiator and causing a hole. And now I'm going to install this. And now we secure it on the bottom.
A few moments later.
Now it's time to show you guys the fairings I intend to throw on this ZX6R. The OGs of the channel will probably remember these fairings for sure, because I painted those fairings in this garage not very long ago. So let's unbox it and show you guys what we're going to be throwing on 6R. And that's just a quick glimpse of what this fairing looks like. This is still one of my best paint jobs till date. Really, really nice color, lots of metallics. This paint is just really, really top notch. As you can see, if I bring it in closer, there's just so much metallics in this paint job. Same for over here. Love this paint job. So now let's start piecing this together and at least throw on the front fairing kit, because right now I believe we're done in the front end. And now we have the front nose piece. We're gonna secure it to the other piece that goes right on the ram air intake. And now the headlight goes in here. And now we install the hardwares. And then two more up here. But in order to do that, there's a bracket that should be going on here for the 636. I don't have that bracket, so obviously I'm gonna make one. All right, and now we have two pieces of metal cut. After a few minutes playing with the vice grips and some pliers and some hammers, we have the first bracket made. I'm gonna warn you, it does not look pretty, but it is functional. So as you can see over there, that bracket is made. So pretty much what it's doing, it's going from that piece to that piece over there. That's exactly what I've done over here. And this is the way these headlights come on the ZX6R. If you don't know, Kawasaki uses the exact same headlights for the 2018 Plus Ninja 400 and the 2019 Plus ZX6R. It's the exact same headlights, just different mounting brackets to make them work. And that's precisely what I've done here. I've made a bracket to adapt this headlight to this particular fairing kit. On a Ninja 400, you'd be utilizing a different position. On this particular bike, this is what needs to be done. And I know this because I had to do the exact same thing on my old ZX6R. If I've learned anything from this ordeal, it is that I need a nice bench vise in my garage, because doing this with vice grips are not fun at all. So now I'm gonna go ahead and make the second bracket. This is a piece of aluminum I've cut over here. So I'm gonna form it to work for this. All right, guys, as you can see, my brackets are made. It's fully installed. Works perfectly. I'm very happy with the way it turned out. Like I said, I'm not going to show you exactly how I made this because it was not pretty. And it's not the way it should be done, but it is functional, and that's all I really care about. Now we're going to go ahead and toss it on the motorcycle. But before we do that, I'm going to go ahead and install the bracket meter that I just got delivered. Let's throw it on, and then we can fully assemble the front end. Yeah. And just like that, guys, we have this instrument cluster bracket installed. Really nice fit, really good quality. Again, like I said, this is from the 2019, 2020 Plus. Same as the RAM air intake, it's the same thing. Same as everything on this assembly. The only thing that's going to be different, it's going to be this dash over here. Now we're going to figure out how to make it work, because obviously the mounting holes are not the same. As you can see already, the cable is a little bit shorter than it needs to be. But that's where the stock mounting holes are. And this is over here. Same as that one. So that's going to need some modifications to make it work, of course. Everything on the front end of this motorcycle needs to be modified or fabricated somehow to make everything fit and align. And that's the goal. Obviously, doing that makes it take time because it's not plug and play. But in order to achieve the look that we're looking for, it's what needs to get done. Let's go ahead and test fit this front nose and see what it looks like. That looks excellent. As you can see, the front nose is on. It gives you an idea of what it's going to look like. Really love this design. Over here where the instrument cluster is, like I said, this dash would need to be modified to fit because the mounting holes like that one over there is different. But all things said and done, still making really good progress. Right now, I'm going to go ahead and secure the front nose so it doesn't fall off and then start messing around to figure out where exactly I want to drill the holes to mount this instrument cluster. So right now, this is a good spot. I'm going to go ahead and scribe that. Now we're going to remove the front nose again and we're going to start drilling some holes. And the first one is right over here and the second one is over there. And we're going to make the holes bigger. Now let's text fit the instrument cluster again. Oh yeah, this was meant to happen, guys. It looks really, really good. Happy with it. And guys, we did it. It's fitted. It looks really, really good. It looks like it was meant to be. So as you can see, that instrument cluster is in place. It's not going anywhere. Don't worry about that. That's a paid actor right there. But over in the back, it is going to be difficult securing this in place because as you can see, this is the stock mounting holes over there. And those holes have holes that go right through the instrument cluster for you to be able to secure it on this side. So it's going to be interesting to figure out how we can secure this the way it is. All right, now, so with the holes drilled out for the instrument cluster, the best way for me to be able to completely secure this is to remove this cluster bracket. And then I can figure out the best way to secure the instrument cluster. Because right now there is limited access to secure that. Now installing the two smaller bushings on the outside. That is one over there. And then that's another one. And we're going to fit it on. And now we're going to install the outside ones. Like I mentioned before, it's going to be a bit difficult fitting this bolt to the back of this cluster. So I'm going to set you guys on the time lapse and start messing with this and hopefully get this cluster secured. And guys, just a quick update. As you can see, we've secured both of them. I drilled a hole right through here to secure this one. And with this side, I just chopped off the top a little bit. And I was able to get a screwdriver right in there to secure this one. And it is nice and solid. It's not going anywhere. So we're going to go ahead and toss this back on the motorcycle. And that is good. We're going to reconnect the harness. Excellent. Installing the boot. That is solid. Love it. Now with the cluster bracket and the cluster fully secured, this is really, really big progress, especially when you're doing a custom build like this where you're trying to make things that do not really belong fit together. Every step is a progress, and right now I'm super happy that we have this fitted on. The next part we're going to be throwing on is the front nose fairing. I'm going to go ahead and install the clamps that are required, and we can secure it to the motorcycle. Now with the clamps installed, we're going to go ahead and secure it. And now we're going to tighten the bolt. Same on this side. And now with the front nose and the headlight assembly secured to the motorcycle, we're going to go ahead and connect the headlight wiring harness. And then we can move on forward. The next part we're going to throw on this bike is going to be the front fender. In the previous video, we installed this 2020 ZX6R headlight on this 2010 motorcycle. I was able to figure out the entire wiring system. We got that headlight fully functional. Really good progress. A lot of you guys are interested in knowing how I was able to figure that out. Really quickly, I'm going to break it down to you guys so you know exactly what I did to figure this out. So the first thing I had to do was figure out what cable was the ground cable. On this 2020 ZX6R, it has only 4 cables coming out from the headlight. On this particular motorcycle, there were 10 different cables that goes into the headlight assembly. So I had to figure out exactly what cable was for what. And when I had that figured out, I had to figure out which one of this cable was the ground cable. When I figured that out, which usually you would expect it's going to be the black, but it isn't. It's the green for some reason on this particular motorcycle. When I figured that out, I connected all 5 ground cables from all different headlight systems. So there's one ground cable for the high beam, there's one ground cable for the low beam, one for the city lights, one for the running lights. I connected all of those ground cables to one cable, and then I connected it to the ground cable that comes from the headlights. And then I had to figure out which one of those cables was the high beam, the low beam, and the running lights. And when I figured that out, I tested each individual wiring over here. And when I found the right one, I plugged it all together. Alright guys, now the time has come to figure out the rear brake system. If you do recall, in the previous video, we fitted the brand new brake lines to the front of the motorcycle. Those are looking good. We have the brand new brake reservoir, the whole brake system, everything is good up front. But in the back over here, we're still running the stock brake hose, stock brake reservoir, all of that, and that's about to change. Here we have a new brake reservoir. We have the steel braided line to match the front lines, of course, and we have a brand new brake hose to fit all of this together. So let's jump onto it. So now we're gonna start by draining the brake fluid that's in here. And now we're draining from here too. Both for the rear fender has to come out. Hose is out. Now the brake hose going to the caliper. Now I'm fitting the new hose. And now we're going to remove the other end of the brake hose. That is out. Now we install the new hose. And now we're going to reinstall the fender. Going to tighten the brake hose. That's perfect. Excellent. And now we're going to extract this brake reservoir. Like so. And we have that piece out. And now with the hose fitted, we're gonna ride it over here and mount the reservoir. That's perfect. Right now, since we're gonna be changing the location of the brake reservoir, we're gonna need to cut the hose to size, figure out the mounting position, and mount that new bracket on the frame of this motorcycle. So as you can see, the hose is here. It's quite longer. This is the brake reservoir we're gonna be using. I have a bracket over here that I'm gonna fabricate so it can fit right in here. And the brake reservoir is gonna sit right over here. And now we're gonna cut the hose. First thing I'm gonna do is take this notch off. And now as you can see, that notch is off. And now we drill a hole on the bracket. Like so. Now, since we're not utilizing the stock mounting location of the rear brake reservoir, I'm going to show you exactly where I intend to mount this. So over on the left side of the motorcycle, obviously this is the clutch side. And if we go in here, I'm going to show you the little hole. That's where I intend to mount the bracket for the rear brake reservoir. Now we're going to get this bracket mounted. Over on this side, as you can see, that bracket is loosely fitted, not secured yet. We're gonna go ahead and loosely fit the brake reservoir. we have the brake hose over here, installing the clamp and the brake reservoir. And now we secure it in place. Now, as you can see, we have the rear brake reservoir loosely fitted. All the hoses are plumbed, nice and secured. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and fill this up with some brand new brake fluid, completely bleed the brake system, and then we will have a functioning brake system. Now that's filled with brake fluid. Now I'm gonna bleed the rear caliper. And now, as you can see, this is bled. Very, very solid system. Excellent. And just like that, we have the rear brake system completely fitted on the motorcycle. There's one more thing I want to get done just for peace of mind. Now over here in the back where the new brake line is, as you can see, the new hose is directly contacting with this metal bracket over here. And I would like to change that. So we have this piece of rubber hose that we just cut from the front one. I'm going to fit it right in here, one in the front, one in the back, secure it in place. That way, this does not rub through for any reason. Now I'm going to install this. Second one. Excellent. And now we can slide this back up and fit this bracket in place. Alright guys, the rear brake system is completely set up. Super happy with the outcome. Really love it. We have enough brake fluid over there. The bracket is looking good. The hoses are routed properly. Very clean install. I'm very happy with the outcome. Like I said, that is very satisfying. It is very rewarding when you do something and it turns out the exact same way you plan it. I could not possibly describe it to you except if you know what I'm talking about. It is very rewarding. I'm super happy about that. It doesn't always happen when you're rebuilding stuff or working on something. So whenever it does happen, you need to take a moment and just rejoice in it. And that's what I'm doing. Now with the entire brake system all figured out, the next thing we're going to start doing is start fitting the body panels or the fairing kits to this and start figuring out what needs to be done to make it work on this particular motorcycle. Before we can figure out the fairing placement, we have to figure out the blinkers or the turn signals, wherever you call it from where you're from. I have a brand new aftermarket set of turn signals over here. Let's pop this open and see what we can get done. So now I know for sure this is the turn signal wiring because I figured it out obviously when I was working with the headlight. Now I'm gonna go ahead and attempt to wire it up to the new turn signals and see if they work. We got no power. Now I'm gonna set you guys on a time lapse and get to work. Alright ladies and gents, so I figured out the wiring system for the left side turn signal. So when we start this up, over there as you can see, there's nothing on. When we turn on the left side turn signal, it comes up over there, but it's not blinking. It just stays solid. As you can see, that is powered on. Same for this. And the reason more than likely is because we have LED lights in both the front and the rear. And obviously the flash rate for LEDs and halogen are way different. So I'm quite certain that a relay would fix that. And just happens to be that I have a relay here to test on this bike. But before we jump onto that now, I'm going to go to the other side and figure out the wiring harness for the turn signal. When that's done, we're going to pop in the relay, confirm that it does work, and then move on to start fitting the fairing kits on this motorcycle. So on the right side of the motorcycle, I know this wiring over here is for the turn signals because I found it before when I tested it out. Now I'm going to go ahead and extend the wiring so after extending the wiring, we're going to plug in the brand new turn signals and test that out. And on the right side, guys, we figured that out. As you can see, ignition is on. We turn the right signal and that works. All wired up. Wiring harness is all nice and wrapped. Really good stuff. So now, like I said, it's still solid. We're gonna go over here and figure out the relay situation. And over in this corner, we have the flasher relay for the LED system. This is still the stock one, hence why we're having this situation with the lights being solid. Same for the left side and on the right side. So now what I'm gonna do is go ahead and remove the stock relay, install an LED one, and see if that changes the situation. So now with the bike turned off, I'm gonna go ahead and remove the stock relay. This is it over here. I have this LED relay that I know that works. I'm gonna temporarily install it just to make sure it fixes the situation we're having. Like so. And now we're gonna go ahead and start the bike. Bike is running. Left signal. That works, as you can see. Right signal. That is perfect. So no more solid, it's actually blinking. That is exactly what we want. So now with the turn signals working, we're ready to start test fitting the fairing kits, figure out what needs to be done to make it work, and start throwing some new parts on this motorcycle. Alright, so this fairing kit right now completes the left side of the motorcycle, which is exactly where we're going to start with. Right now I'm going to go ahead and put all of this together, and then we can start test fitting it on this side of the bike and figuring out what needs to be done. Alright, so we have the first piece. Just go like this. Now we have to line it up. That is perfect. Now we install the hardware. And now we install this piece right over there. Alright, so now over here is where the rectifier mounts on the ZX6R. As you can see, I've routed the rectifier over here. I'm going to pop off this bracket, install it over there, so we can install the rectifier when we test fit that fairing kit. Bracket is off. Alright guys, so far the first problem is this bracket. The way it mounts on the 6R is very different from the way it mounts on the newer 6R. I believe the bracket is completely different, but since we have this bracket, I'm going to try to make it work over here instead of trying to make a new one, because this is going to be much easier and much quicker to get done. So let's get to trying to fit this bracket on that fairing. Alright guys, that took a minute, but I finally have this bracket set up to line up. Now we're gonna go ahead and install it. Now as you can see, that bracket is fully installed. Excellent. Now I'm gonna install the turn signal. And guys, just like that, we have that panel completely assembled. All pieces are now aligned. So now we're gonna go ahead and start testing it on the motorcycle, see if we can get it done. Wish me luck, guys. This is gonna be fun. All right, guys, so the first problem so far testing in this panel, as you can see, when we try to line it up, it's contacting on this plastic over here. So we are going to need to trim that because this should be resting right against the frame. Obviously, Kawasaki has changed this plastic piece over the course of the years, and that's why it's contacting right there. We're going to pop this piece back off, trim that piece down, and see what happens. So going from the front, I figured I'll give you guys a better look at what I'm talking about. That's the plastic piece right over here. And as you can see, it's right against that fairing kit, and it's not allowing it to move in. So I'm going to trim it so this fairing kit can rest against the frame, and we can move on.
A few moments later.
All right, guys, now I've trimmed that piece. Now we're going to test fit it again. That's lining up good. Oh boy, this is going to be fun. So obviously it's looking good. But the problem right now is that none of the mounting holes even line up whatsoever. So for starters, over here, this is the hole that's in the frame. This is the bracket that was used to mount the 2009 up to 12, I believe, ZX6R fairing kits on this particular frame. And as you can see, the hole over there lines up, same as the one over there. That is the hole that goes right into the frame and up there. But that does not work for this particular year and model, obviously, because the hole on the fairing kit is right over here. There's nothing over here. And then this one does not line up. So we're gonna need a bracket for that side and a bracket for up here to make this work on this bike. I hope that made sense. And now we have a piece of metal over here. I measured out the bracket that we need and it's 136 millimeters. So I'm gonna cut it. And then we're gonna make two brackets because I'm certain we need the exact same one for the other side. All right, guys, right now, as you can see, both bracket has been cut. I've drilled a hole, I've cleaned up the metal. Now that hole is gonna go right over here. Now the idea is when I thread this bolt in here, I'm gonna still cut this metal just because if you look under here, there is a hole over there. So I would like to still fit this bracket in this hole, if that makes any sense, just for added stability. And so this works better. So now I'm gonna go ahead and show you exactly what I intend to do to make this a more functional bracket. Alrighty, that's enough cutting for one day. Quick update, guys. As you can see, I'm currently test fitting the other frame kit on the right side of the motorcycle. And if we pop this off real quick, you will see the bracket that I have made over there. Really solid. It works well. I did cut this out, like I mentioned before, so I can brace it underneath because there's a hole over there, just to make it more stable and more rigid and not so flimsy. I think that's the best way to get this done. So one bolt is going to go over here, another one in here that I'm going to still need to drill a hole on this bracket and thread in that bolt. Without much more talking, I'm going to set you guys on a time lapse, quickly make the other bracket for the other side, and then maybe we can even secure this fairings in this video. Alrighty, guys, as you can see, we have the second bracket all made up. We have the first one over here that goes on the other side. Really big progress, guys. This is gonna make this possible to fit this fairing kit on this motorcycle. So without much more talking, let's start throwing this thing back together. Now installing the brackets. Now we're ready to install the other fairing kit. On the left side of the motorcycle, I'm going to need to connect the left side turn signal and mount that rectifier where it belongs with that bracket that we fabricated. I'm going to set you guys in a time lapse, get that done, complete the fairing installation, then I'm going to cut you guys back in. Alrighty guys, as you can see, we fitted the front fairing kit on this motorcycle. Everything is secured. It's looking really good, and I couldn't be any happier. You know, it's one thing when you actually dream of something coming to pass and you can actually get it done. This is one of those cases. I never thought it was going to be possible. We figured out the headlight. That was a really big progress. The fairing kits are now on even better. So now it can only get better from here. Entire fairing kit is looking really good. It looks like what it's meant to be. The bracket that we fabricated, super secure, very solid. And same on the right side, everything is super secure. The bracket is holding, everything is really good. Super happy. Down there, everything is good. Everything is just good. Everything is literally just so good. I am super pumped about this. And you can probably tell already I'm stumbling over my own words, but I'm just super excited that this is possible and I'm able to get it done. Previous video, we popped out all the dents in this tank using the tool that VEVOR sent us. Then I sent this tank to get welded. I was not there for that because I was just very busy, but he was not able to weld it because the holes were in such close proximity. And when he was welding, just with the heat, it was just not possible to get it done. So he ended up throwing this patch on here for me, welded it all around completely. I'm happy with that. I think this is going to be very good. This is just one of those cases where you live and learn. Knowing what I know now, if I was supposed to do this repair again on a different tank, I would go about it completely differently. But that's just life. You live and you learn. Like I said, all of this is welded up. It will require some body work, obviously, to get it to where we need it to be. Same for this side and for this side. Right now we have the tank out here. It looks like this tank has had some repairs done because I was trying to bring down the high spots over here and some body fluid started cracking. So I'm going to go ahead and sand this with some 80 grit sandpaper, bring it down as low as possible, see what the tank looks like after doing that, and then maybe we can get some body work going. Alrighty guys, that took a minute, but we finally have that gas tank cleaned up. So I have brought it down to metal on most parts over here. As you can see, I brought it down to metal. Same for this side, same for the patch. Obviously, I scuffed it up to get it ready for that body filler. Same from the front over here. I brought everything down to make it easier to feather this area over here and make it part of this body panel. So hopefully this turns out good. Same thing over here, brought it down. Everything is prepped and ready to receive some body filler. Like I said, the goal is to feather this out and make sure everything blends in nice and good. Hopefully it turns out good. Without much more talking, let's get to work. I'm gonna start mixing the bundle so we can start laying it down on that tank. Alright guys, quick update. I'm still at it, still sanding. It is very tedious, and I am doing all of this by hand because I do not want to use the orbital sander. It goes too fast, and then you're just making more problems with something like this that has lots of curves, lots of grooves. It just wouldn't be a great idea. This area over here is good. This is perfect. This area over here is pretty good. I am gonna need to fill some pinholes just like this one over here and hit it with some high build primer and sand it one more time. I'm currently working on this side, as you can see, just trying to blend it all in nice and good. There was a dent over here. I'm gonna need to throw some more body filler over here and sand all of this and just feather it in like I said before. So it is a work in progress. It is quite tedious doing body work like I said before, but this is we're getting somewhere, so that's a good thing.
Years later.
Alright guys, we currently have the tank over here. I've sanded it to the point that I'm satisfied with the body work that's been done on this tank so far. As you can see, I've feathered all the edges. Everything is looking nice and good all around. Super happy about this. So I'm gonna go ahead and scuff off the remaining paint in this tank and then get this ready to throw some primer and everything. Alright guys, we're back in the garage. A lot of work got done on the gas tank. That is ready to receive paint. I'm not certain I'm going to paint it just yet because I might have other plans for that gas tank to make it look nice and good. But that's going to come in later in the video or in the next video. Right now we have the bike over here. I'm going to change the filter and the fuel pump, install that on the gas tank, toss it on the bike so we can start this bike up and make sure it does run. If you do recall, in the earlier videos we removed the engine from this motorcycle and it has not been started up since then. So I just want to make sure everything was installed correctly. So without much more talking, I'm going to cut you guys on, replace that fuel filter and the fuel pump, get that installed, and then we're going to throw some gas in it and see if this baby works. Now I'm going to start taking this apart. First hardware, second one. This pops off. And you just want to gently pry over here to get it separated. And disconnect the wires like so. We can set this aside. So now we have that fuel pump ready to come out. Now we're going to slide out the top section like so, and we have the fuel filter down here. So as you can see, the fuel filter is actually not bad. This is not the worst one I've seen yet. We have the replacement one over here, so I'm going to go ahead and toss this in and we can reassemble this like so. I'm going to grab it, wiggle it out like so, and we're ready to toss the new one in same way it came out. Alright guys, now as you can see, we have the new fuel filter in place. This is the old one out, so I'm just going to quickly close this up, then we can toss it in the tank, throw some gas in it, and try out this motorcycle. So the next thing we're going to do is reinstall that fuel pump in this gas tank. But before we do that, as you can see, I have removed this fairing kit on this side. Obviously, because we did forget one tiny detail, and that is throwing some coolants in this motorcycle. So now that is out, we're able to put some coolants in this bike. I currently have the heat gun going over here. Warm up that oil a little bit, so when we start it up, it starts easier and runs proper. I know it's a bit of a redneck way to do it, but it's better to get it done so this bike starts easier because it hasn't started in a very long time. And let's just throw on the fuel pump in the gas tank. I'm gonna flip this over. Install the O-ring for the fuel pump, and now the fuel pump goes in. And now I'm going to reinstall the hardware. Now I'm ready to reinstall the gas tank. Now we're going to go ahead and add some coolant. All right, now as you can see, we have that coolant all the way to the top of the radiator. There's nothing in the overflow tank just yet. I'm going to top that off, install the radiator cap, throw some gas in here, and start it up. Okay, now adding some gas. Now we have gas in the tank. I'm just going to reinstall the fuel tank lid.
It was at this moment that he knew he fucked up.
All right, guys, unfortunately, there is some bad news. So I put the gas in the gas tank. I had that all set up, and I was going to try to start the bike. And this is what happened. The key snapped in it. I was able to remove the other broken piece. I did have a feeling that this was going to happen at some point. So as you can see, I picked up a few blank keys to cut, but I didn't cut it in time. And now we cannot start the bike, unfortunately. But it is what it is. It is the weekend right now, or it is weekend right now, so I can't get this cut. I'm gonna go get this keys cut so we can start this bike. And here how she runs. I should have done this, but I didn't, and now we have a broken key. Really sucks because I was hoping to have this bike started and listen to what it sounds like, but it is what it is. We're not gonna give up right now, obviously. We're gonna wait to have those cut, and then we can continue with this. Unfortunately, I went to Home Depot and Canadian Tire, and none of those businesses will cut the key for you, even if you have a blank, which is really shitty. And the only option to do this would be the dealer. I called the dealer. They will not cut the blank key for you. They want you to cut one of their key. Obviously, it drives the cost way up. So since I have these blank keys over here, my goal is to figure out a way to cut it by myself at home. Wish me luck, guys. Right now, as you can see, I have a little setup going over here. I am pretty sure you can guess what I'm about to do. I'm about to try to cut my own key. Since I have everything I need over here, it's better for me to give this a shot before I go run into the dealer. We're gonna get to work. As you can see, I picked up this bench vise. I actually picked this up a while ago while I was trying to make the brackets for the bike. I just ended up not using it because I was able to get it done the way I had it. But now I'm going to use this to create a stable platform. So let's get to it real quick. All right, guys. So what you see right now is I have taken that broken key. I've used a vise to hold it to a blank key, a brand new one over here. And my goal is to put this on a bench vise and try and trace it to make a duplicate key. Not sure if this is going to work, but hey, might as well try it out. So I'm going to set you guys on the time lapse and get to work on this. Alright guys, it looks like I got it pretty good. If the camera is gonna focus. The broken one is right on top, as you can see. And it looks like I got it pretty good, but there's only one way to find out. So now we're gonna see if this works. Hey, moment of truth. No, we got nothing. That sucks. The key that you guys saw me cut on camera unfortunately did not work. It is what it is. So right now I'm trying to figure out alternative means to get this key cut. I did call a couple locksmiths. I have found one that's really close to me. I have a couple more blanks, as you guys are aware of. I'm gonna go over there, see if I can get a key cut. If I can, excellent. And then we're gonna see what's gonna happen. Let's head out over there, go get a key cut and see if it's gonna work on this bike.
A few moments later.
So as you obviously know, we cut a key. That did not work out, unfortunately. So right now, my goal is to remove this ignition assembly, bring it over to that locksmith and see if they can make a key for me that way. I think that's my only option right now. Let's jump right to it. Man, oh man, that was a battle. I gotta tell you guys, just to get this ignition harness unplugged in here, I had to go ahead and open everything up. As you can see, the airbox is open. I had to dig in there. Super uncomfortable. But as you can see, we have the ignition harness finally disconnected. It was a pain. So right now what I'm gonna do is go ahead and remove the top clamp over here. So we can remove this piece and just stick it over there and see if they can make us a key for this bike. Because without a key, it's no good. Literally, all the work we've put into this would be absolutely no good. So let's quickly pop this off, get it over there, and see if they can make us a key. All right, guys, as you can see, we have the complete triple tree assembly out with the ignition over here. The goal is to get a key made for this bike ultimately so we can start it up and hear what she sounds like. So without much more talking, tomorrow we're going to head out over there, see if we can get a key made. If we can, excellent. I'm dying to hear this thing start up. Like I really want this thing to be started up. So let's just get to it.
10 years later.
All right, guys, it's another day. And of course, we're back in the garage. Lots of stuff has happened. So really quickly, I'm going to talk to you guys about the progress working on the ZX6R. So I took this apart to completely remove this ignition assembly to go have a key made, and I am happy to say we finally have one made. And I gotta tell you, it was a bit of a process. There was lots of going back and forth trying to figure out what exactly was going on. And when we did, we were able to make a key, and I'm super happy about that. So just like I showed you guys, I had a few blanks for the Kawasaki keys. I was able to use that in the past, and I had some left over, and I intended to use that on the ZX6R. But I took those keys to the locksmith. We cut two of them on two separate occasions and they did not work. The locksmith was able to provide me a key from their collection. We cut it and it works. It's not a Kawasaki key, but it's a key that's going to work on this motorcycle. So it's one step in the right direction. And as you can see with the key in the ignition, that works flawlessly. So now we have to put all of this back together, reinstall the ignition, everything, pretty much everything back to where it was, and get ready to crank this bike. All right, guys, we have everything loosely fitted. For the most part, everything up here is installed, secured, and torqued to specification. I have the tank back on right now. So now is the time we've all been waiting for. Will this bike start? Because we have not started it since we reinstalled the engine back in this motorcycle. Let's see what happens. That was close. Obviously, there's no gas on the system, so we're gonna let it circulate a little bit. All right, guys, as you've seen, it started up right away. It does smell like gasoline in here, terribly bad. And just as you can see, the exhaust is still smoking. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull the bike outside, start it up, run it up to temp so that coolant can circulate, and then we can top it off if need be. All right, guys, we're now outside. We have the bike over here. We now know it starts up, so that's really good. I'm gonna start it up, let it run up to temp, and then see what needs to be done. Bike's still running. It's currently at 98 degrees Celsius. The fan just kicked on, so it is at operating temp. I'm gonna go ahead and shut it off, let it settle. Now we can top up the coolant. Back in the garage, guys, as you can see, the motorcycle ran for the very first time in months, and it's ran excellent. There's no complaints over there. We now have coolant completely circulated in the bike. That's really good. I want to thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for your support. As you can see over here, we have two packages. I've been waiting for this for a very long time. Thankfully, they're here. They're gonna go on this bike and make it an even better transformation. I'm certain some of you guys probably know what this already is. This is a subframe from the 2020 Plus ZX6R. We're gonna need this to completely transform the rear end of this motorcycle and be able to install the rear fairings on this motorcycle, like I just said. Let's get cranking. So we're gonna do this in segments. This part of the subframe is the same for all ZX6R models. This is the part we're going to be replacing. I am aware I do have this, but we've painted this. It's going to flow really well with the frame. So I'm not going to be replacing this one, just this. I'm also going to be replacing the undertail fairing to complete that transformation. And just like that, guys, we have the entire subframe separated. We're going to be using this piece, that piece. We do not need this piece, except if we run into some difficulties installing it on the bike. Right now, let's get cranking over there. Making some progress, guys. As you can see, rear part of the subframe is now out. We still have to remove the undertail fairing and start installing those new parts on the motorcycle. Now I am going to go ahead and remove the last bit of fasteners that's holding this undertail fairing in place. There is one over there, as you can see, and there is one right there. So let's get them out. Oh, wow. We got this done, ladies and gentlemen. As you can see, it's completely taken apart once again, but for a good reason. As you can see, there's practically no tail section on this bike right now. Everything is just hanging out over here. If we come over to the table over here, we have the 2020 ZX6R undertail fairing kit, 2010 subframe for the ZX6R. We have the 2020 subframes over here, the cowl for the 2020, and we have the undertail fairing for the 2010. So right now, we're going to start installing the 2020 parts on this motorcycle and completely reassembling the subframe. But there's a problem. Right now, as you can see, like I mentioned, this is a 2020 ZX6R undertail fairing, and this is where the tip over sensor is located. So right down close to the frame, to the main frame, close to the engine. And on the 2010, the tip over sensor, which is right over here, is on the tail section, right next to the rear tail light. Quite a bit of a distance, as you can imagine. There's a lot. So I already looked at the harness. The harness is over here. If I was to open it up to bring it back all the way here, it would be too much work. So I'm going to splice in some new wires, extend it all the way there to mount that tip over sensor. Alright guys, quick update. As you can see, right over here is the tip of a sensor I mentioned. That's all the way down here. We're going to need to rewire that. Over there is the starter relay. I've installed that in place. I've routed the harness this way. And over here is the negative cable for the battery. Everything is looking good. I'm going to go ahead and install the subframe extension now, and we can secure this undertail completely. We have everything mocked up so far, really good. I've completely installed the undertail fairing here and down there. That's good. It just needs to be secured up here by the license plate. Right now, the ECU is plug and play, so it's mounted in the same location as the older bike. The servo motor does not, but there is one mounting hole over here, so that's secured. There's no fuse box location on the tail assembly of this particular motorcycle, because on the newer one, it's in the front of the motorcycle. So that's just loosely seated over there. I don't think that's anything to worry about. So right now I'm going to go ahead and extend this wire, like I mentioned before, to go over there to the tip over sensor, and then we shall be good. Now the next thing we're going to do is install the battery, plug all of that up, throw on the new tail light, wire all of that up, and we should be good to go. It's a lot of work doing something like this, like I've mentioned before, making parts work that are not necessarily meant to go together. It's a lot of work, a lot of thinking, a lot of maneuvering just to make sure things fit. But we're making really good progress, and I am very, very happy about that. So let's get cranking. Now I have some wire over here to extend this. I'm gonna set you guys on the time lapse and get to it. Alright, that took a minute. As you can see, we have that harness now, and we can bring it all the way back here and plug it in place. Now we have the harness down here, so I'm going to plug it in, and that is ready to go. And now we're going to reinstall the battery. The subframe is looking good. The next part we're going to throw in it is going to be the tail light. Let's get right to work. Right now I'm working on securing the tail lights. As you can see, it mounts over here, but over up top here, there's a bracket that's required to mount it on the top section of the tail lights. Obviously, I don't have that bracket, so I'm gonna go ahead and make one so we can secure this top section of the tail light, and then we can just throw in the hardware for the bottom section of the tail light. Now we install the brackets. And just like that, that tail light is fully secured. Top brackets. I could have used a washer down there, but I felt like keeping the groove going. So we have that in place, and it's fully secured. Not going anywhere. Super happy about that. The next thing we're going to do right now is figure out the tail light wiring. When we do that, then we can toss on the side fairings and almost button up things in this back end. All right, guys, so currently I just did a bit of house cleaning over here, routed all the wires this way because it's just going to tuck right in here. And then we can put some stuff in here if we ever have the need for it. The next thing we're going to be throwing on is this license plate bracket mount. Nice and clean install is going to go over there. We're going to install a tail light, license plate light on it too. Figure out all the wiring like so, and tidy all of this up. Now I have that license plate bracket. I have a license plate light mounted on it already. I'm going to go ahead and route the wiring harness in here like so, and then install this bracket underneath. Alrighty guys, and as you can see, we figured out the tail light section of this motorcycle. All the lights work, the blinker, the brake light, the turn signal, everything is working perfectly. So that's really good progress. Super happy about that. We're almost done in the tail section. We just need to throw on the tail fairings and all that good stuff, and we're ready to move on. The And now we install the battery hold down bracket from the 2020 Plus ZX6R. Now installing the side fairing. And now same thing as the other side. I'm gonna line it up and install it. Alrighty guys, a lot of work has been done, as you obviously know. Right now I'm currently draining the fuel and the gas tank into the jerry can over here. Reason is because I'm gonna paint this tank. I changed my mind once again. So we're gonna drain the gas tank real quick, pop off that gas tank and get some work going on that. I just can't stop admiring this. This looks really, really good. Super happy about this. Everything is fully functional. Lights, tail lights, blinkers, everything is really good. We're just missing the seats right now. And of course, we received another package over there and we have the seats for the bike. I kind of gave that away, didn't I? But the reason why I had to get another pair of seats is because the seat from the 2010 ZX6R will not work on this subframe. So we have to get one from the 2020 Plus, which is what I did. So let's go ahead and unbox it and throw it on the bike. Alright guys, as you can see, we have the newly purchased seats, or the new to us seats for the ZX6R. This is from the 2020 Plus. As you can see, I thought the front one was going to be the same, but there is a slight difference. As you can see, that's the old one, that's the new one. Obviously the rear one is completely different, just to fit the new style of subframe we have going on over there. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. This one was already damaged from the accident, so it had to be replaced anyway. So now let's toss the rear one on, because we're done on that section of the motorcycle, and see how it looks. Fits like a charm. Beautiful stuff. Beautiful. Yeah, that's it. Looks beautiful. Unfortunately, we can't throw on the front one just yet because we need to remove the tank and that's not gonna work. But we're gonna throw it on hopefully in this video. Alright guys, as you can see, we have that fairing kit completely installed. It's looking beautiful. Alright guys, as you can see, bodywork really sucks. I know most people will not even attempt to repair this tank like I have, but that's just where I am. If I can salvage a part, I'm definitely going to salvage it, and that's just where I roll. It's not going to change. But as you can see, beautiful. I have the glazing putty over here to just fill up little things like this one over here. Done. Then we're going to throw some primer on it and some paint and clear coat and all that good stuff. I'm also going to be painting the fuel tank bracket and this vortex gas cap. it's really worn down and it's really faded. A buddy of mine gave this to me. So I'm gonna remove these pieces and paint it black to match the tank, which the tank is gonna be black. I just gave that out without even thinking. But yeah, the fuel tank is gonna be black. The gas cap lid is gonna be black. So everything is all gonna be the same color. It's all gonna blend in really nice and good. Alright guys, right now I've sanded the tank one final time. I've plugged up all the holes, as you can see, all around, except for in here because I'm going to clean this out. But everything else is plugged. I'm going to use lacquer thinner with a clean brand new microfiber cloth, clean all of this up, plug this hose over here, and we can start shooting some primer. Alright guys, as you can see, I've prepped everything. The gas tank is over here. It's sanded, it's cleaned, it's prepped. Same for the gas cap or the gas lid. Everything is ready to receive primer right now. Now over here, I'm going to start mixing my primer. That's the primer I use. That's the activator. We have a reducer to thin it out. I'm going to be using this Annie gun. I have the same gun, but in the 1.3 tip. This is a 1.2. I just picked this up, so it's going to be the first time shooting paint with this. I'm looking forward to using this. Alright guys, as you can see, the ZX6R is looking amazing. The next part we're going to be throwing on is this beautiful front windshield by Puig. I believe that's how it's pronounced. As you can see, I got a slight smoked front windshield to go with this bike. I think that's going to look just perfect. Now we're going to quickly open this up and toss it on the bike. Beauty. Looks just beautiful. This is also higher than the stock one, so let's just quick test fit. Yeah, that looks good. Yeah, I really like the height. It comes up way higher than the stock one. Alright guys, as you can see, that 2K primer has laid pretty good over here. Everything is looking good. Same as the gas lid over here. I have some Scotch Brite right now. I'm going to go ahead and scuff it off, both parts, and then we can throw some base coats on them. All right, now before we install the front windshield, we're gonna install the hardware that secures it in place. Just like so. And then we're gonna slide it in. Line it up. Now I'm gonna go ahead and secure all the hardwares. As you can see, guys, that windshield is on. It's looking really, really good. This is the light smoked one, and I think it's just perfect. It's not too dark. It's not too light. And you can see very well through that. Next, we're going to be installing is El Cheapo rear view mirrors on this bike. It's going to completely tie up the front end. Let's do it. And we have the mirror unboxed over here. Nothing fancy, just some good functional or non-functional mirrors. But I think it's going to tie up this front end really good. Let's throw it on. All right, guys, everything is painted. It's looking really, really good. Super happy about that. There's a little bit of dirt here and there, but that's expected, so I'm not really worried about that. But so far, I'm super happy with the way it's turned out. Excellent work.
A few moments later.
All right, guys, as you can see, the painted tank looks very, very good. Super happy about that. Now I'm going to go ahead and start removing all the plugs I put in, install the gas lid. Then we can install the tank on the bike. We have the gas lid over here. Now I'm going to install the gaskets and the vortex fuel lid. Installing the hardware. Now we're ready to install the tank back in. I'm going to connect all the breather hoses, a few tank bolts. Alright, the next part we're going to install is the 2020 Plus ZX6R fuel tank brackets. With this bracket, it's possible to install the side fairings. So let's throw this on. Just going to clip it in here. Same thing on this side. Just slide it in. Now we can install the steering dampener. Alright guys, the tank is installed and it's looking very, very good. There is one problem that we need to address before we can say that this bike is close to being done. And I'm going to talk to you guys about it right now. So when I installed this rear assembly, obviously installed the under tray with the lock system that came with the under tray. Obviously that's not the lock for this particular bike. I have that lock over here. So my goal is to try and swap it out and install it in that one. I have looked at it. They are completely different designs, but I'm going to see what I can get done to make this a functional lock system. Now we can pop this out. And in here is that lock system I was referring to. As you can tell, it is very different from the way this is mounted. Very different locks. But let's see if we can make some magic happen. We have the old key set out now.
A few moments later.
Alright guys, so unfortunately there's nothing I can do to make this work. Everything is completely different on both ignition systems. It's just not possible to secure this one to this subframe. I'm going to hold on to this piece, go get a key made for this, and then I'll just have two different keys on the bike, I guess. But that's the only option, because right now it's just not possible to mount this one to that one. It's just not possible. I'm currently running this race setup over here with some good old zip ties. So this way I can unlock this if it locks up and I'm not stranded. You see what I did there? That's a race setup. I call that a race setup. So it is a race setup. Don't come for me in the comments, yo. Now I have these pieces over here. These are the pieces that goes in here to clean up this area. So now I'm gonna go ahead and toss this on. Now it's securing the bolt. The same for this one too. And now installing the tank fairing. Guys, I think that's it. No, wait. Now, I believe we're done. Alrighty guys, I think we can agree that the bike is looking phenomenal. Obviously I can't ride it because, well, as you can see, plus I live in Canada and blah blah blah, but I'm gonna give it a quick startup, revs, and all that fun stuff. Alright guys, that's a wrap for this build. Be sure to drop your comments down below. Let me know what you think about this entire build, the entire process. I think it was phenomenal. You guys let me know. But be sure to go check out those merch, guys. Cop something while we to keep supporting the channel. And I will see you guys on the next one. Peace out.
I got nightmares in my head, I fear that the thoughts build up until I can't hear, that my mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper. Anxiety, filling up every space, no privacy, and silently, it could build and build until you finally see, whoa.
As you can see, we have the ZX6R back on the table again for a very special reason. This bike is obviously not new to the channel. We picked this up completely destroyed. We completely rebuilt it. As you can see, runs, rides, everything is perfect. But we're gonna change it up one more time. I definitely gave you guys a hint in the first video that was posted on the ZX6R, the part 1 of the rebuild. I also gave you guys another hint by leaving this wheel decal on the bike. The steel braided lines, obviously overkill for a street bike. And don't get me started on the Brembo. So this has been a plan in the works for a very, very long time. And I'm glad in today's video, we're gonna finally get it done. Now the content of this box is gonna go ahead and transform this bike one more time. And it's even gonna be better than the first transformation. Are you ready? Whoa. We have a little message from ABS Fairings. I can't wait to look at this. Thanks, son. I'm not new to painting, so I can appreciate a good paint job, and the paint job on this tank cover, next level. Just take a look at this. Take a look at this. Wow. But enough talking, let's get everything out of here. Beauty. Wow. I gotta tell you guys, the quality of these fairings are just out of this world. First, they're not ABS plastic, they're fiberglass fairings. As you can see, these are race fairings, not ABS, fiberglass fairings. And you can see the lower fairing over here. Solid piece. Beautiful paint job. I have no words. I could not be happier. There is not one concern in any of these parts. They're all flawless. The packaging was done meticulously. Everything was protected. The edges were all covered. Everything you could ask for spending this kind of money on a fairing kit. The big job right now is to get all of this beauty on that beauty. Let's get to work. Well, this is a familiar sight. Guys, as you can see, we have the bike fully stripped down. The entire fairing kit is now off the motorcycle, except the front fender, but that's easy. And now comes the fun part. So with race fairings, unlike street fairings, they do not come pre-drilled. So you have to line it up yourself, drill those holes, and mount the fairing kits. A little bit of work, but in the end, it pays for itself. This one is slightly better because it does have some kind of indentation on the areas where you should be drilling it. So that's definitely gonna help, but that's not on all the part. For example, on the front nose, the area that's supposed to mount on this ram air intake is not indented, or there is no markings for it. So we're gonna have to figure that out. Now the bike is completely stripped. Let's start throwing on the new fairing. We're gonna start with the front nose. Alright, so I've scribed it underneath. I'm gonna go ahead and drill those holes. Alright guys, right now as you can see, we have the front nose installed. We're gonna go ahead and install the front bumper and work our way backwards. And now with the front fender installed, the next part we're going to be figuring out is going to be the rectifier or regulator that sits over here. Obviously on the race fairings, there's no spot to mount those. I have the OEM fairings over here. If you do recall, in previous video, we fabricated this bracket to be able to mount that regulator or rectifier. Now we're going to have to do the same thing to have it fitted on this bike. Now in here, I'm just looking for possible locations to mount the rectifier. Right now, the main concern is that this cable is too short to get it in there. So I'm thinking of mounting it somewhere right in here, inside the fairing kit. I believe this is gonna be the best place to mount this. Right now, I'm test fitting this side panel to figure out a possible mounting location for the rectifier. And now we have the holes drilled, so I'm gonna go ahead and remove the side fairing piece. Alright guys, just a quick info on what I've done over here. As you can see, I've mounted the rectifier. Only one mounting hardware currently in there, and it's looking good. The rectifier is not directly on the fairing, and I'm going to show you exactly how I was able to achieve that. So instead of using the stock hardware for the rectifier, I chose to use a longer one, and when I fitted this longer one into the rectifier, I used the spacer to make sure that the rectifier does not touch the fairing, and then I used a nut on the other side. That way, it's nice and solid. Just like so. As you can see, the hardware is loosely fitted. A spacer. I'm gonna have a washer and a nut back here. Now I'm fitting on the supplied hardware. Install the fairing kit. So as you can see, I fitted the front nose and the left side fairing, and it's looking really good. Lots of drilling, lots of fitment. Like I said, obviously these are not pre-drill, so you got to make sure you check it before you drill. So it's taking a little bit longer, but we're making decent progress. Let's get back to it. And now with this side tank fairing on, as you can see, there's more drilling to be done, more alignment to make sure that this lines up smoothly or as best as possible. So let's get to some drilling. Fits like a glove. As you can see, that's looking beautiful. Making good progress on the left side. We're going to move over to the right side and repeat the same process over here. It should be a tad bit easier because we do not have to mount the rectifier. That's on the left side. So it should be plug and play pretty much. Well, almost plug and play. Alright guys, as you can see, it's starting to take shape. We only have a couple more parts to throw on this bike. Let's keep going. So a quick tip for you guys if you're going to be doing this by yourself at home. Whenever I drill a hole, I just put a bolt in there just to make sure there's no movement and I get the precise drilling at the next point. So as you can see, before I drilled over here, I put a bolt in there. If we go over to the other side, I still have bolts all across everything just to make sure nothing moves and everything lines up pretty good. Over on the right side, we're going to remove the bolts that we put in place just to secure it. And guys, we have the lower belly fairing completely secured on the motorcycle, and I gotta tell you, it is looking good. I'm super happy about this fairing kit. Everything is going pretty good. It is gonna take some time. If you're gonna do something like this, you gotta be patient. It's taking me longer than I expected. If you guys want to cop some fairing kits, a street one or race one, I'm gonna have a discount code for you guys in the description. Like I said, this is excellent quality. I'm super happy about it, and I'm quite certain you would be too. ABS Fairing took care of me, and I have no doubt that they would do the same for you. Custom fairings, whatever designs you want, send it to them and they can hook you up. Like I said, I'm gonna have a code in the description for you guys to save some money while you're purchasing fairings, streets or race fairings, whatever the case may be, or just parts of a fairings. You don't need a complete one. They can hook you up. If you want to save some more money, go give me a follow on Instagram, send me a message, ask for the code, and I'll provide you with a better code to save more money. On that note, let's get back to the video. Obviously, we can't forget about all the mess that we're gonna have to clean up after doing all this drilling on this bike, because it's a lot. To install the race tail on the ZX6R requires a little bit more work than I expected. We have the entire fairing kit removed, but we also have to remove the under tray or the battery tray. In addition to the kit coming with this beautiful fairing, it also has this replacement under tray that's just a piece. So I'm intrigued to see how this is gonna go on, because obviously the current one is much longer and houses a lot of components. So, like I said, in order to run the tail on this bike, we need to remove the under tray. It is quite a bit of work. I have done it in the past. I'm going to set this to a time lapse and just remove all of that. Instead of having to chop the 2019 Plus under tray that I currently have on this bike, I'm going to throw on the original one that we removed from the bike from the 09-010. It's going to work perfectly, and if I need to chop it off, I can do that without any regrets. I don't want to mess with that one. So I'm going to set this to a time lapse, get all this swapped over, and I'm going to cut you guys back on. Wow, that took a minute. I gotta tell you guys, I did not know that in order to run this, you would have to trim the under tray. Installing the older one that I removed from the bike originally is a lifesaver, but it was a lot of work having to undo everything I pretty much did. We have it done. We have the 2012 ZX6R under tray in there that goes all the way up to here. So if I need to trim it, I'm not going to be super pissed about it. Let's just get going, guys. So now we're just going to test fit this. And now as you can see, the fitment is looking good. Beforehand, I was not able to install this piece just because of the design of this other under tray. As you can see, it has this edges that stick out over there. It was just not possible. Trust me, I tried before having to undo all of this. But now, as you can see, fitment is good, so let's get back to it. So fitment is good. I'm gonna take this back off, pre-drill all the holes so I can just bolt it right back up when I put it on. Once again, we have the race fairing loosely fitted on the motorcycle. In order to secure this fairing, we need to drill some holes into the fairing and right into the subframe. It is the only way to secure this particular race fairing to this motorcycle. I'm not sure about all the models or all the manufacturers, but for this particular one, we gotta drill some holes right through the subframe and secure it in place. And now we have the points to drill on the subframe. Now guys, the hole is drilled. I've cleaned up all the mess. I've also chased the hole with some thread chaser. It is now ready to receive that tail fairing. Okay guys, as you can see, we have completely transformed this bike. We have the race fairings completely installed. Super fun stuff. I'm very happy about it. It turned out excellent, zero complaints. I gotta show it to you guys. But first, I will not be installing the seat pad. I'm going to be picking up a bigger one that's going to completely fill out this area. That's the goal for now. But that's going to be in a different video. And now I'm going to show you guys this beauty. Perfect. And just like that, guys, that's a wrap for the ZX6R build. It has been an intense journey right from when we picked this up to its current condition. I'm certain you guys are going to agree with me that it was an epic transformation. On that note, be sure to check out the Ninja 400 build. Be sure to check out the Polaris sled build. There's going to be lots more coming to the channel. Stay tuned for that. Do not miss out. Cop some merch. Help support the channel, guys. It does really help. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment, all that fun stuff. And I will see you guys on the next one. Peace out.